It's Clobberin time! Clobberonimo!
Clobberonimo indeed. Welcome and greetings to part 2 of tonight's extravaganza. Hey, all my friends, clobberers, and clobberiskies, and clobberonimos and clobonies, and every other kind of clob we got out there. Just hail to you all. Thank you so much for being here tonight, my friends. I want to thank everyone who was here with us earlier. Of course, especially the great J-Man. Had a wonderful time, a great time hanging out with you, buddy. Thank you so much. Another, I hope, a successful excursion to Earth B. And I'm sorry I got started late again here, but was trying to get some things done for tonight's show. Tonight, now, well, it's kind of, again, we went from having a little bit fun earlier to something of a little bit more of a sad note tonight, but something has to be done because this show, in which we just kind of one way or the other talk a little bit about comics here and there, is named after a dear friend of ours that we lost now just over 2 years ago. And our great friend, Mark Stephen Chure, known as the great Mark C. We lost him it was suddenly, it was unexpected, given the circumstances. And it's here 2 years later, and it's difficult to even talk about. It's difficult to even imagine. But and then when you think about it being 2 years later, and you still can't find the words. A year ago, we did pretty much this. We did, we talked about it. We had some friends pop in who'd, everyone knew him online. We went through everything. We talked about all kinds of stuff, with regards to it. And at the time, just being a year, 2 doesn't make it any better. I mean, yes, you would think maybe a lot of time going under the water, but it doesn't. It's only 2 years. It feels like yesterday that it happened. I mean, you can't even imagine how that is for the family, For those of us, or those here who may not know, without rehashing too much, is that and not to get I'm not doing this to make the old joke about the comic shop cabal, but it is relevant in this case. When I owned the comic shop back in the late 1980s, I'd worked in other ones, but when I owned mine, a young fellow, lots of young fellows, of course, bought comic books from me. And in many cases, and I can't tell you how many instances, somewhat like 15 to 20 years later, ballpark, I would run into these young gents again, and they were, of course, older gents, not old like me, but they were adults. And they would, when we would get into conversations, when they would realize, when through conversation, we would realize I was the one selling them those comics, and Mark was one of those, one of many, because I've had those encounters many times. We became friendly, and it was, of course, at another comic shop, run by someone who bought comics from me at one point. But so we became friendly over the years, and he would tell me about how he used to come to the shop and all that kind of stuff, and it made me feel good, obviously. But we became friendly. We had friendly arguments and discussions about John Byrne's Superman reboot, things like that. And eventually, he would joke. He would say, he said something like, "You want to have me on your, because he knew I had a podcast back then. He knew I had this show, but it was a podcast instead of this one wasn't on YouTube." But he would joke about it. We would, bump into each other and, go back and forth about it. I know I went over all this ground last year, a year ago. But we would, joke back and forth about it. He would say, "When are you gonna have me on? We're gonna talk about, we could argue about John Byrne's Superman reboot and all that kind of stuff." And but every time we bump into each other, it was that and other things. Friendly, we would talk comics, of course. And finally one day, after going through that a couple of times, every now and then when we would bump into each other, wow, it's gonna be, I can't believe how long it's been. This year in June or something, it'll mark 3 years that I've moved to YouTube from Blog Talk Radio. And right when I moved to YouTube, I just say, "Yeah, come on, let's do it. Come over." And so we did that show, and then we started doing other shows together. We'd known each other. We were friendly. We didn't know each other super well, even though we live in the same area. But we bumped into each other, and then we were friendly, and it was cool. But we started doing shows together a lot, and it was just a lot of fun. And he was cool to do shows with, and he knew his stuff. And then I realized, the funny thing about it is, even though we lived in the same area, I didn't know he liked a lot of the same YouTubers. And I remember at some point around that time, I think maybe even a little bit, either before or after we started doing a couple shows together, I would see somebody by the name of Mark C in chats of like the Great Doomcock, and I think in Nerdrotic's chat, Gary's chat, and chats of many others of the same ones I used to like to go to watch and stuff, and still do like to watch. And he was a big fan of those, and he would talk to me like he knew me. And I'm like, "Mark C." Well, my assumption was our dear friend Ace Cast Iron, whom you've seen from time to time, who's been on the show with me. His actual name, is the same initials. He's a guy named Mark with a C. And so my assumption was it was him, because he was talking to me like he knew me. I had no idea it was a gentleman that I knew as Steven. He was in my phone as Steven, because down here, all of his family have been called him Steven, even though his name is Mark Steven Charay. People who know me don't realize I go by my middle name. I don't go by my first name. I hate my first name. But for whatever reason, online he was known as Mark C. But when I say known, he was known. Obviously, it wasn't the same as me knowing someone in person, but he was so vocal and outspoken and so, knowledgeable and friendly, and just, had this, that he made friends with people all over social media via Twitter and in those chats. He was a high contributor to Meyer Burnett's channel and Gary's channel and Doomcock. He used to send Doomcock things all the time, and Gary things. He was a fan of both of them. And Pat S. met him at Doomcock's channel. There you go. Hey, Pat S. What's up, buddy? I'll send my shout outs in a minute, I promise. And so he was known to, I don't know what happened was, after I kept thinking he was Mark and he was Ace, he sent me a text. Steven sent me a text saying, "Dude, that's that Mark C, that's me. That's not someone you think it is." I think he did. So and we laughed about it later. But anyway, so I realized, so he was Mark C. Okay. Makes sense. I just thought it was the other Mark. My other friend of mine is named Mark. But anyway, so Mark C was known as Mark C to people, if you think about it, really worldwide. And when he passed 2 years ago this weekend, and at that point I kind of knew about it. A lot of people knew him as Mark C. I think I announced it on social media as soon as I found out, and I found out about almost 2 days late because his phone was locked and they couldn't put it on social media. We had to find out from from a family friend and a close friend. But anyway, when we put it out there, thousands and thousands of people were just devastated. It was like they'd lost a friend, and to them, he was a friend. And yes, it was a social media friend that they corresponded with back and forth on social media, Twitter and YouTube and such, and maybe I guess Facebook. I think he did Facebook. But it just goes to show you how great he was at putting himself out there and meeting people, in a Facebook, in a sense, meeting people, you know what I mean? Social media sense. And it was pretty extraordinary. He was great. He was outgoing like that. So, and a lot of people became very fond of him via that internet persona. And that weekend, 2 years ago, I discovered that his family didn't even know about that. I mean, they knew he liked to get, I guess, his I think his son Jax, and knew that he liked to go on YouTube and stuff, and they knew he loved comics and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think they knew the Mark C. They didn't know anything about the Mark C persona. They were blown away by it, and by the nice words that Mr. R&B said about him when that happened. And of course, we all know he's a great artist too. And so he's a dear friend that will be missed. We had plans to review certain things, and he was taken from us 2 years ago. And if it's bad for people who knew him just on the level that we did, that I did, and that people who at least just had friendly correspondence with him, you could just only imagine how horrible it is for the family. It's never going to be the same. Time's not going to do. I mean, time helps with things a little bit, but not enough. I mean, you'll always miss him. And, like I said, we didn't get to hang out in person that much. We saw each other, bumped into each other once in a while. But the way we got to know each other was doing streams on my channel. Now, he was a busy man. He was a hard worker. He had a good job. He had a young boy to raise. He was raising pretty, I think he was mostly on his own, I think, with that. And so, and of course, he didn't have a lot of time to enjoy himself. But when he could find the time, he would come on and we would talk about stuff. I have a whole Mark C playlist I made up so for people to just a few shows. It seemed like we did so much more than we did because we talked a lot before and after the shows and stuff. I was thinking, man, we did way more than that, didn't we? But no, it was a relatively small number considering. But it would have been more because we had all kind of other things we wanted to do. Now, I hope you're all hearing me because I don't have any way of sound checks. So I'm going to shout out the no real show notes other than I won't be able to make it to Tom's show tomorrow night. But thank you, Pat. Hey, Loki, what's up, buddy? I'm going to do my shout outs now. As always, we shout out our great mods. And whether they're here or not, they get the shout out. The great Eric K., the bronze wrencher, and his new puppy dog. Yay, Park Kirby. The great Chris Persia. Vindicator Wrench of the North. The great D. Bud Martin, the Wrench of Iron. Lord Thoth, the wrenching god, and of course, along with this wonderful queen, the great Lady Thoth. Avon lives, long live the Legion, my friend. And there's your new puppy. Oh, what a puppy dog. My partner in crime on Earth, B. And I had a great time on Earth, B, with him tonight. Really enjoyed our zany, haney presentation. Thank you, buddy, for that. The great Wrench Without Fear, J-Man. Master of the Claboni, artist extraordinaire, Hungry Boy. Kal-El the Super Wrench, thank you so much for being there, buddy. Field of the Freach Melia, Maddie's Daddy, and of course, the old rascal you, Fanty Outsidey. And of course, let me see who the great Loki. What's up, Loki? What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Who's here with us? Let's see who else is here with us tonight. Maybe pull back the stream so we can say hello. Let's see. All right. Again, the aforementioned great Pat S. Good to see you there, buddy. Brian Hepburn. Hello. Wagner, what's up, man? Let's see. J.D. Lewis. Hello, my friend. Good to see you. Skogly Joe Toon. Hello there. Welcome, my friend. Keely Chow. Roll that tide, buddy. Keely Chow. Claude Selling. Hey. Hello. Good to see you there. Yeah, I believe. And maybe everybody for the moment. Hope so. Excuse me there. So, yeah, I'll probably just pay a little tribute to him and talk about some of the things we did shows on. I was looking at our let's see, our playlist. And I think of all the shows we should have done, but we had some good ones though. Let's see here. Our first one we did was our this was on 2 years ago. It says now. I believe that a little bit off. It was a little that's close to 2 years. 2 years. Well, like 3 years. Anyway. Let's see. It was the Great Superman Debate with Mark C. That was one where we talked about he's a big fan of John Byrne, the reboot. We know, although I'm not. And then after that, we did a review. It was our first Clobberin Classics comics review ever. Let's see. So I put that on the screen. There we go. I can't see it too well. All right, so if you look at the bottom there, I know it's probably very difficult to see. Let me make it bigger. There we go. So, first show that the great Mark C and I did was, as you can see, the Great Superman Debate. All of 87 views. Wow. I was brand new, folks. It was one of the first shows I did. One of the first shows I ever did. So, we were just getting started. And let me see. Then we did my first Clobby's Classic Comics review before it was called that. Justices Served, the review of the Alex Ross Jim Krieg classic Justice. We both that was a lot of fun. Then we did another review, The Coming of Galactus, the Jack Kirby uh, introduction to Galactus masterpiece. Then we did, and I'm going to talk about this one a little bit later, our top 25 all-time favorite comic book artists. Then we did best superhero cartoons. That was a fun one. Then there was movies into comics. And that was a fun one for me. That, again, on all of these, Dave, good to see you, Dave. One of the things, all these topics, Mark C was so great at this. He was a natural when it comes to, there's only certain, obviously not everybody knows everything about everything. I don't, nobody does. He doesn't. There's certain things he's not into that he would have, he told, like he would mention all the time. There were certain comics that he had not gotten into that I did, that he wanted to read, that he was starting to read. For example, he was never much of a Legion of Superheroes guy, the Baxter Legion run. And then because I was going off about it so much, talking about it, he went and tracked them all down and got a good price on almost the whole run of the Baxter Legion book. Stuff like that. If he hadn't read it or was a gap in his what he wanted, he would go out and grab it. Oh my goodness. We have a special guest member. Oh my God. Hey there. The great Mexican Iron Man is here.
Hey.
What's up, buddy?
I just got off work on the West Coast and saw the link. And so I was like, because I hadn't seen the link about an hour ago. I'm like, I wonder if he's still doing the show.
Oh, well, yeah, I just went on, but I'm honored, man. Again, you're busy. I know you're a busy man, so don't,
Well, I want to stay for a little bit because I had a thing about Mark. I've had a couple of different revelations, but it just dawned on me. I was thinking about this all weekend long.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, I knew that this was the time of year, but I didn't, until Pat asked and then you reached out to me. I didn't know if you were going to do something again. But I think I know why these meetups are so important to me. And I think if I look back on it, I still regret, because I don't know if did I tell you the story that I was supposed to meet up with Steven?
I believe you did mention it.
Yeah,
once, way back when.
He and I were talking about meeting up because I thought I was good, because I thought I was gonna like heal and I bought a house, and this house in South Carolina, I bought it in August of 2020, and then of course I broke my leg, and then I was in rehab, and so I couldn't move. But I thought I was going to get to meet him, and we kept talking about in early January, like, oh, I'm going to come. I mean, the reality is, as Loki knows, I mean, I was like, I was drugged out of my mind on the way to getting addicted to Percocet and Oxycontin.
Wow.
So I was delusional, and then we lost him.
Yeah.
And I think looking back on it, I've wondered why I take meeting up with, like, if someone's pulling through town or in the area, I'm like, oh, let's meet up. And I think it goes back to the fact that I regret that I never got to meet up with him because,
man, yeah,
it's like if I just had him for like 3 or 4 more months when I drove across country, I mean, I can't believe it's been 2 years, right?
2, man, but that's part of life, dude. I can't tell you how many times I've had similar, instances was I wish I would, for example, contacted a friend I hadn't talked to in a while or anything like that. We're at that age now where, I've had a couple go past that I'm just planning to go talk to them. And then I find out that they passed like a couple. This happened to me fairly over the past few years, a few times. And I felt so horrible. I'm like, if I just reached out or, it's going to happen. That's life though, isn't it? It's sad.
Yeah. And I was thinking just the other day, I was running a show behind the scenes and I was thinking like, why am I so when I run these shows and I'm backstage, why am I hyper concerned with the live chat? Because a lot of people that do on YouTube, they just want to hear themselves talk and talk to the people. But me, I've always been passionate about like making sure that people in the chat, of course, I'm not doing it right now because I only have this window open. I don't even have the chat screen open right now. So hi, everybody that's saying hi to me. I'm sure there's some people. I apologize. I'm not typing back to you, but I'm focused on Clobby and Mark.
Sure.
So anybody that's saying hi, just shout out to everybody, and my apologies, I'm not typing, but I remember like why, and it's it's like I owe many people a lot of things. I owe Loki for giving me the opportunity to become a good live caster. There's so many people that I owe different things. I owe the Admiral for helping me, step out of Xanadu and walk and step into Valhalla. And but the one thing that I owe, and I just wish Mark was around. And well, I know he's up in heaven looking down, but Mark, I want to tell you one more time. I told you last year, and I certainly said it, when we were on Doomcock show, and then Clobby when we did our show for his remembrance ceremony, and I would just still be a guy in the chat if it wasn't for Mark. Wow. And I will always remember to thank him for that, because what started as I remember just sitting there, just watching him, and he would always have something important to say, or funny, or insightful. If he did do a super chat, it always meant something, said something, inspired something, made you laugh, made you think.
Yeah.
If the chat was going the wrong way and people are like turning against the live stream, Mark had a way of like getting everybody back to focus, kind of a way, like he'd spend $2 or $5 and send a super chat, and then when DC or somebody read it, it would like take the whole chat back. And
yeah, he was good at that.
I mean, and I remember one of the last things, the last conversation we had in chat stream and in DMs was about, besides going to meeting up, was I told him, it's like he really gave me the courage to not be an introvert hiding in the chat. I know that sounds weird because I'm such I
understand,
a perceived extrovert now, but I was so comfortable. And to this day, in YouTube, I'm still more comfortable. I mean, that's why I don't do live streams on my own channel. I'm still more comfortable being the behind the scenes guy or the sidekick. But I would be, I would never have made the friends that I've made on YouTube, on all these channels, if Mark hadn't showed me that there was a way for somebody who's just in live chats, just sitting there watching shows, to come out of their shell and be part of this YouTube experience. And it was Mark's as a role model, as a mentor. And it's not that he really mentored me per se. It's not like we talked on the phone a lot or anything like that. I mean, all we ever did were talking live chats, live streams, and in DMs on Twitter, and some emails, I think. But still, it's like he was like a guiding light that literally just pulled me out of the live chat streams to what I do now, which is run channels, Appear with DC, do the shows with Loki, Midnight Sedge after that. The list goes on and on. 27, and I, gosh, Clobby, it's just, and I think, and I just wish he was still with us, man, because I would love nothing more than to be on a live stream and him still be with us, and me to tell him to his face and thank him for that. But I look up in the sky and he was weird because of all the people I've been close to, him, he was one of the first, man. He was really one of the first. He was always so kind to me. He would be that guy that when I showed up in a chat, he'd be the first to say, "Hey, Mexican Iron Man."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like he would, like, it was almost like, even if he didn't have a wrench, he acted like he was co-hosting the live chat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Clobby? Did he ever do that on your shows?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, he was special in so many ways. I don't know if you know about this, Michael, but there was about 2 years ago now. I remember where it was, about only a few months after he passed. I was doing a show with my good buddy Michael with Retroblasting. And I don't know if you're familiar with Retroblasting.
Yeah.
And Michael and I we were doing the show. We were ranking the Marvel movies of all things. But anyway, a lady, I guess, presumably she said she was a lady, with a handle like that, came in, and she said, we were in the bed. I had, for unusual now, because Michael was here, an unusual amount of people in the chat and the views and what have you, live. And she comes in and she says, basically, how dare you? She was offended that I was using Mark C. Comics Talk for my show, because she said how much she loved Mark C., how he was so nice, or she was his friend. And remember, nobody in his personal life ever knew he was Mark C. He was Steven. So this was somebody like,
right. I didn't even know his name was Steven until he started DMing me.
Right.
Yeah.
And this lady was indignant until I tried to explain it to her, and then Eric and a couple other people explained, no, they're friends, and he named it after. And she was fine. She's like, but that's just one little piece of the puzzle of how many people, right when it was announced of his horrible passing, that people came out of the woodwork from all over the place that said that Clinton is. They felt like they knew him, that he touched the lives of so many people that as that Mark C persona, and that's not easy to do, just typing into cold chats or of live streams or even on Twitter. But this young lady thought so much of him, and she was protective of him in a way that she cared about him, and she'd been missing him. That was just, again, I wasn't angry with her or anything like that. It just showed me that, wow, he just touched a lot of people, just along the lines you're talking about.
Yeah, I
And he
mean,
was
it's
special.
just, yeah, definitely. And and he asked for nothing. He wasn't like he was never, out for ego or recognition or notoriety. He just wanted to contribute. Um, and man, God, he knew so much though, man. Like he was like you, like with comic books and stuff. Like God, the man is an encyclopedia. And there's other people that are like that. I mean, that are friends now, Loki and others, but in
He
different ways.
genuinely loved it. He genuinely loved um comic book or other things, geek things too. But he loved comic. He was an artist himself, of course. I can't. I'm not an artist, but he loved comic book art. He genuinely loved comic books. And the thing is, if he didn't know something about him, he wouldn't pretend that he did. He would ask, and then he would go out and become knowledgeable about it because he was genuinely curious. As I was saying earlier, he wasn't much of a Legion guy, and he knew how much I loved Legion. This is a and the next thing I know, he's calling me and said, "Man, dude, you like the Baxter run on Legion? You think that was any good?" And Rama Salami, hello there, good to see you. And I said, "Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones on the book." And it's like 65 something issues of it. Next thing I know, he's in some store up in Pittsburgh tracking him down, getting the price on him. Said, "Look, man, look at the deal I got on these. I'm going to get into this. I'm going to start reading this now." And I didn't tell him to do that. I just said, "Yeah, I like it." And he's just loved getting into things that he hadn't been into previously. He just loved this medium of comics so much.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah. And I've tried to, going, and I think of Mark from time to time, and especially when I'm in the live chats, and um, that's why I try to pay attention so much to what's happening in the live chats, because he always did. And God, had I never met him, none of these friends that I have on YouTube, I don't know what would have happened. I mean, I just, it's hard to
oh,
say because he really let me see, because here's the thing, right? When you come on YouTube, you're like, okay, if I want to make friends on YouTube, does that mean I got to start a channel and I got to start putting videos up and I got to start doing shows and I got to be friends and with other YouTubers and do that thing? And I just wasn't that extroverted. I never wanted that for me. I never wanted that. I just wanted to be a fan. And Mark was the ultimate fan in the live chat. He was just the ultimate fan. Asked nothing, gave everything. And
yeah.
I remember distinctly watching him when he would super chat sometimes when a stream was going wrong or got off track, and he would send a little super chat and bring it back on focus. And I've certainly copied what he did many, many, many times.
Hmm.
And so there's three, two, at least two, maybe three things about him that built my YouTube persona and who I am right now. One is that courage to say something and be part and always be opening. Number two, welcome people, talk to people, pay attention to people in the live chat, because Lord knows in these last many years since I've been on YouTube one way or the other, there's been days where I had I mean, Loki will know this, or I had minus $3,000 in my account and I couldn't super chat $1 to a channel that I loved. And there's a lot of people that are never able to super chat even $1.
Yeah. I hear you.
Because they're
Been there, done that.
they're making
Yeah.
ends meet. And I always want, like
Sure.
Mark did, I always want everybody to feel important. I want everybody to feel like they're part of the show, part of the experience. And I hope I've honored him in that way. And then that third thing is just that, just that love of being able to be a fan. And of stuff, and he was a fan. He was a real fan. He was a fan of YouTubers, a fan of comics, a fan of IPs, a fan, and he was just and he always maintained that. Uh, Everybody liked him. I don't know anyone that I don't ever remember anyone have a problem with him. I'm not saying it didn't happen. Maybe it did. I just never saw it. If it did,
Yeah.
and I saw him a lot. Like now these days, it's easy to say, okay, you got Monkey Jeebus finds me, or Keely Chow, or Shum. There's Cosmic Vader. There's anywhere from probably a half dozen people, maybe a dozen, that regularly show up to the same channels now these days. Like when I show up, and that's what it was like with Mark for those years, those first couple years, 18, 19. When I came, when I found DC's channel and Comicsgate and all that stuff,
Mhm.
I mean, my God, I mean, he and I was like, it would be like bumping into, like, at first, you see that it's like, it was almost like being on high school, and he was like one of those guys with the Letterman jacket in a live chat. That's kind of the vibe I always had with Mark. Yeah. He was that quiet quarterback leader star, like triple lettered, and I'd show up in a live chat, and there he'd be, and maybe that's how sometimes people look at me sometimes now when they see Mexican Iron Man chat. I don't know, but that's how I look at Mark. I'd be like, oh, great, Mark's here. Everything's going to be okay. It's going to be cool. It would be like a warm blanket, like showing up to a picnic and someone or barbecue and someone offering you a plate. And that's what Mark was like.
Yeah.
All the time. It'd be familiar and it'd be instant. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Mark's here. And then, I kind of chat with them a little bit back and forth. And, and thank God I had an opportunity. I wish I'd met him in person, but I'm so glad I met him on YouTube, because it's made the world of difference to who I've
Wow.
evolved into and turned into.
Dude, that's amazing. But thank you all for the M's in the chat, everybody. Yep. He's just, I mean, this is 2 years. It doesn't, man, I can't still have problems putting it together. I still have trouble just believing it. 2 years, you think you'd adjust in some way, but I don't know, man. It just doesn't feel right.
I don't think it feels like 2 years ago that we did that stream together for. I mean, it doesn't even seem like that. I mean,
right, it was I remember when we went on with DC because he didn't want to go on that night.
Yeah, that was a tough day.
Yeah. Yeah. I did not expect. Well, what happened when I put it out there, I didn't expect to get the response I did. I just put it out there because I figured, people would want to know. I forgot. I can't even remember how I did it, whether I put it on Twitter or told people behind the scenes on Twitter. I can't remember now. I think if I tweeted it out or not, but it got out there after I did because no one knew about it until then. And I guess nobody, but I didn't have that many. I guess it must have just got out there. I'm not sure who I could not contact it now, but I got to DC somehow. Maybe did I tell him behind the scenes? Maybe I texted him.
I'm not sure.
I DM'd him.
I think you DM'd him, and then he DM'd me, and then right after I found out, and he told me I was supposed to do that show that night. He was doing the quiz back then.
Yeah.
And he says I can't do it. And then you and I contacted each other, and then we're like, we got to rally the show. We're gonna get out. And it was really that night all of us got each other across the line. Because I didn't want to go live. I mean, it was DC didn't want to go live, and and I think we all got each other across the line. And of course, I mean, that was a tough night show, but it was. But I would say, Mark, I look up in the sky right now from this little. I mean, I say I'm not a YouTuber, but as Culture Casino will call me out, I do have a live streaming gamer chair, and I have a live streaming mic, and I got live streaming cameras and everything else. So I don't know, maybe I am a little bit of a YouTuber, but Mark, thank you for everything, just for existing and being you. I mean, I would not be on this platform and have the friends and everything that I have if it wasn't for him literally pulling me out of my shell that I had back then.
I did not know that. Maybe you may have mentioned that before, but I didn't know it went to that extent.
I don't think I talked about it like this. I think I've been a little bit more reflective on it now that I've done these meetups, like driving across country to Dallas to meet up with Loki, and I haven't gotten any of the big Neurotic Geeks and Gamers meetups, but these, going to Nashville with Echo Base and things
Yeah.
like that, driving to see Pat's family and all this. I mean, what happens is I think every time I try to do a meetup or I meet someone new, in the back of my head, there's that regret that my first meetup was supposed to be Mark. Okay, so that's the real deal. I mean, right? I mean, I probably would have seen Loki first because he was supposed to fly out and drive across country with me. But other than that, Mark would have been my first meetup, and it didn't happen. And that's when I've had opportunities to do other meetups. I'm just completely committed to try to get it done because we don't know how much time we have left.
We sure don't. We sure don't. And he got cheated because he was told one thing and then another thing happened, So he did not. This was just totally not expected. So.
Okay, I see in the chat, DB Martin and Phantom Outsider are saying they're going to clip that I've admitted that I'm a YouTuber. Okay, you know what, you guys?
There you go. You got him. You are a YouTuber after all.
Bobby, these guys.
Yes, he's not a YouTuber. He is, though, because you do have a channel. It doesn't make you a YouTuber necessarily. I mean, what makes anyone a YouTuber?
I think my definition of a YouTuber is someone who does it because they care if their channel grows and they want to get monetized and make money. I don't care if my channel grows. I love whoever's chosen to subscribe, and I will never get monetized. There's just no way. Because I will never, ever put myself in the situation where I'm saying, well, I can't say this because they might demonetize my video or something. So I would.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I know I probably shouldn't ever say never, but I cannot see any set of circumstances happening at this time where I would ever.
Well, how many subs? How many subs do you have now?
I think 1,700 or 1,800 or something like that.
Oh yeah, well you can all you need is the watch hours.
Dude, I don't have any watch hours, and I don't. No, I don't care. I'd rather spend hours and hours. You know what I love doing? I love being a fan of YouTube channels. Like I was watching your show earlier today, and
thanks.
And I love being on Loki's show. I love hanging out with Doomcock. I love being on Midnight Surge and stuff. I love the time that I spend at Echo Base Network. I love being a fan of these channels. I mean, I'm sure I have got well more than 4,000. Good God, I probably watch 4,000 hours of YouTube in a month or
wow.
two. But I'm just saying, but I don't have them on my channel, and I don't really want them, But that's why I'm so thankful for Mark. Let's get back to Mark because Mark helped me find a way. The way he found for me was that, Mikey, you can be. I mean, he didn't say it like this, but the vibe that he gave me was that you can be a fan of all these YouTube channels and play a role and be important, and you don't have to go off and be a YouTuber in the classic sense. So
no, but I'm just saying that. Hello there, John Rupus. Welcome, sir. Yeah. Look, no, I totally get it. You have to spend a lot of time worrying about every damn thing, and and then once you do get it monetized, you got to worry about it. The slightest little thing getting it demonetized. So yeah, it's not worth it.
Right, strikes.
I have to do it. So
yeah, strikes and claims. Well, no. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not. Yeah. It's not a judgment thing. I mean, God, no, I mean, I love all you YouTubers for everything you've done for me, giving me all this great content. It's just not what I want to do. Because I think if I did it, it would start to feel like a job, and I don't ever want it to feel like a job. And that's what I learned from Mark. Mark let me just realize that being on YouTube can be a fun fan experience.
Yeah, and he worked so much with his normal job that I don't know if he would have had time to do it, but he could have easily done a channel and done it very well.
Well, see, I think that right there, Clubby, you just hit the nail on the head. That's why I identified with Mark, because I got a real busy personal life and business life. It's like if I wanted to do a channel, I'm sure I would probably do okay if I wanted to. But I think that's why Mark really spoke to me, because I think he and I had that in common, and
he traveled a lot, so he was on the road almost all the time for his job, so it's not really feasible to, if you're half the time you're spent out, going to all over the country, doing a channel. I mean, you can, sure, but I mean, he used to like to just go when he was driving back and forth. He would just listen to DC and Gary and all those guys and stuff. He liked to be a fan. I don't think it was something that was didn't interest him that much. But then again, when he became, he did do a lot of shows with me. I think he kind of enjoyed that, but he could have easily done his own. But and it was just so great having him on. We had so many plans, so many things we wanted to do. And when I look at that playlist, I'm going, man, it's just not. I thought we did more than that. It felt like we did it for years together. We really didn't. It was just over the course of like 6 months or so. Felt like longer.
You know why it feels like more is because of how meaningful it was that when you did do it, right?
I think
that's
so.
why. And that's a good thing.
I didn't even have any views for those back then. There's some of those now. I'm like, man, I wish we could do some of those over again because they were really weird and clunky, and nobody even watched or listened back then. But it was fun. We'd redo some of those topics, and yeah, man, we had a 6. Oh my goodness, the beautiful 6 is here. Look at that. Thank you for the super sticker, 6. You were too kind, my dear.
She's throwing a little pair with hearts. I will catch those hearts, 6. I will catch them all.
We shall challenge each other to a duel for that heart.
What?
The heart of 6. I challenge you, sir, to a duel over the lovely hand of 6. Yes. Now, a duel of the fates. No, you're too good with the lightsaber. Never mind.
Yeah, well, we're about to find out how good I am next spring because I got a battle scheduled with Loki, and I don't know. I in general, I mean, I would be willing to go to a Star Wars. I wouldn't go now, but I would go to a Star Wars event, and I'd probably walk up and take anybody who wanted to challenge me, unless I know that they're super professional or something. I mean, I've been spinning lightsabers for literally like decades. So,
hey, Alex James, good to see you there, buddy. It's been a while. So, are you saying that they do have, like, at some of these places, they have lightsaber battle competitions and crap like that? I didn't even know.
Oh yeah, dude, at Star Wars events. Yeah, I mean, hell, even yeah, I mean, and there's whole meetup groups that do them in parking lots at Disneyland in Anaheim. I don't know about Disney World, but I mean, there's Phantom Outsider says you need to work on your flips. Phantom Outsider, the only way Mexican Iron Man's going to be doing flips is with, let me think, a forklift and a harness.
Oops, well, you don't need it. You got the Force.
Well, let's just put it this way: the Force might be strong with Mexican Iron Man, but what's even stronger are the number of enchiladas and burritos that he's challenging the Force with.
You're saying the Force can only lift so much? In that case, I probably outweigh you like 5 times, so I'd really be in trouble.
Well, let's just say we saw how tough it was for Yoda to lift that X-wing out of the swamp. It would be kind of like that, but maybe a bit more challenging.
J-Man, take it easy, buddy. Thanks again. I had a great time earlier tonight, buddy. That was a lot of fun, man.
Thanks, J-Man.
J-Man is the-man. You're the dude. Gravity is a force. Maddie's daddy. I'm gravitically challenged. Hey, Ghost Rider. Good to see you. Yeah, and I think Mark would have. There's not a time goes by though, or rarely anyway. Mexican Iron Man that, especially when it's due to comics, right? Well, if I'm talking about comics of whatever, but usually on a Monday night when I do the comic stuff. That I don't go, I wonder what Mark would have thought of that.
Well, he would have let you know.
Right?
I mean, if he's still around, he would certainly have let you know because he had an amazing way of telling you what he thought with very few words.
Yes. Are you kidding me? I used to bust my ass all the time. If I get the slightest thing wrong, we got a few little comedians around here that do that to me. They're like, if you get because you're talking, you're never going to get everything right all the time. You're going to mess up. You're going to make mistakes. And, someone's always likes to nail you, the Mr. Smarty Pants, and Mark was that for me a lot of times. He would say, actually, this, and I'd say, oh, dude,
he hit so hard with his comments sometimes in live chats that I swear it would be like watching a scripted TV show. Like, he'll boom, bam, like, ow,
Exactly. But it was all in fun, of course. But we had so much fun. We did, so many different kinds of shows together. We were planning to do a lot of reviews. The review show, which I've been having so much fun with comics review show over the past year. I put it off for almost a year because he and I had a couple planned, And when this happened, 2 years ago, I just didn't feel like doing it. I mean, it took like over a year for me to get into the groove to want to do it again. It just, even though, I don't know. It just, I don't know. I'm not saying it didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like it somehow.
Yeah.
Because he was the one that started doing those with me.
Right.
And, man. So.
Well, after tax season, after May, this year will be the year where we've got to do our Green Arrow, Green Lantern spectacular.
Yes. The hard traveling heroes.
The hard traveling heroes. My when I tell people that that's my favorite comic book run of all the stories I read, all the books I've owned and bought, even more than my Batman comics, my favorite ongoing run was the Green Arrow, Green Lantern series.
Well, when did you read that? How long ago has it been since you read that one? Because that's, of course, it's an old one, but.
Well, I haven't read it since what? Let's go with, when was the last time? Let's see. When did my comic book collection get sold? That would have been when I was about 2000 and change ish.
Mm-hmm.
So about 20 years ago.
Yeah, they came out.
I mean, that series came out way earlier than that.
Oh yeah. It was the early 70s.
Yeah.
But they came out with a big hardcover of that around that point. You're talking if you.
Yeah, I had that hardcover.
Yeah, and it's got like a slip case. I was aggravated because they colored it. The way they did the coloring on the book kind of aggravated. I remember Mark C and I were talking about that one night. The way they recolored
it, the green on Green Arrow.
It changed a lot.
Yeah, he looked real different, right? You remember that?
Yes, but it was still, it's funny that, I mean, if you got to be honest, and when we review it, I'll be brutally honest. It's the art that is the best thing about that story, because the story is interesting. The stories are compelling, but some of the dialogue.
The dialogue. Okay, the
Denny O'Neil.
Okay, we'll get into it when we review it this summer. But yeah, the dialogue is not the most powerful stories of comic books of all time. That's why when I tell people, they're like, "What?" Because there's so many other stories that are impactful. They either comment on society or the characters or. Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But I just loved it. It's just the personalities that came through those two guys. I mean, the contrast of their powers. One has none. One has kind of unlimited, sort of. Green Lantern isn't the smarter of the two, but he's got will. They both kind of check each other and kind of reel each other in at times, and then there's always clever ways that they would save each other and save the day. I think why I like that so much.
Oh yeah, and Denny O'Neil, again, he was actually, even though he wrote like a hippie, there was a kind of guy. It was kind of a over the years he became kind of a different kind of a cat. But as comic writers go, and Neil Adams, they were both some. Well, there were some interesting dudes. Let's put it like that. And they was when comic book writers and artists had character. We have a mutual friend of ours who is imminent. I hope he's got a link. He should have been here. He said he asked me to send him one, whose initials are DNC, but who should be here soon.
Oh,
if he's got the link, so, and he asked for it. So, but if you're out there, DC, you got that link there, bro. At least I hope it went through. You ever send links on Twitter?
I mean, there's an example right there. I mean, that DC is an example right there because that's where I met Mark originally.
Oh yeah,
that was he was in a bunch of different streams that I would find him, different YouTube channels, but that was the core one of where I met him and got to know him, and to go from just being just another dude in that live chat to where I'm now doing, shows with them with DC Weekly. I mean, I think that's an example of I know Mark would be proud of me, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, and he loved him. He loved the big DC man. He used to send him stuff all the time. He listened to him all the time. He loved that great fellow, and it was just it was amazing. So hopefully he's got if you're hearing me out there, bro, you got the link.
So Green Lantern, what I always love about you is that you have a proper assessment of all Green Lanterns, Clobby.
Oh yeah,
you're not one of these John Stewart is the number one guy kind of guys.
It's right? Hal. It is Hal Jordan.
Yes,
all the way. I love Alan Scott. I love I'm okay with John Stewart as I like him fine, I guess, but I hate Kyle Rayner.
Right.
And but other than that, as far as human Green Lanterns, it's just Hal. I do love Kilowog and some of the alien Green Lanterns, but as has often been said by some of these alien Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan is the greatest Green Lantern of all time.
Yes. Yes.
He's
Hal number 1, Alan number 2. Who's your number 3?
Kilowog. I love Kilowog. I think he's hilarious.
Okay, your third favorite human lantern.
Oh, human one. Yeah, I don't know if I have. I mean, do you like Guy Gardner? I don't.
Not really, but I kind of.
Maybe
Look,
John.
not really, but I gotta slot him ahead, obviously, of Kyle, and I gotta slot him ahead of John Stewart because John Stewart's just so freaking. It's the same thing. Hey, we need somebody to use the ring to, I don't know, build a bridge, and here comes John Stewart. The Eagle Scout. Well, that's my job. I'll do it right now. He's kind of. I don't know. It's like
he's an architect and a marine. I'll tell you this. Of course, I love the Justice League cartoon, the Bruce Timm one called Justice League, and then it later became Justice League Unlimited. I'm binging it now for like the 10 billionth time. I'm getting sad because it's almost to the end of it again. But they made the conscious decision on that show to not use Hal Jordan for what I call dumb. Not we don't get political here, but dumb Hollywood. As a certain YouTuber would say, tokenized reasons. I mean, they as much said so. This is not me saying it, not my opinion. They said it, Bruce Timm and Paul Dini. And so much so that when it first came on, I didn't watch that cartoon for a few years. Eventually, everyone's saying, you got to watch it. Yeah, so I did. Now, on that show, even though it goes to every fiber of my being is annoyed that it's not Hal Jordan, I still think John is well done on the show and it doesn't destroy the show. I like it. But I have to put up with John, but right. It needs to be Hal. I wish it was Hal.
I agree with your assessment. I had the same thing. I didn't watch it either when it came out live. I watched it much later, and because I didn't want to, Green Lantern. Look, my number one's Batman. My number 2 is Green Lantern, like even ahead of Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when I didn't get the Green Lantern I wanted, I revolted, and it's kind of like the same thing I did with Star Trek TNG. I just revolted.
Yes.
I didn't watch TNG for a decade. Dude, I didn't see it at all when it came out live, like at all. I had just finished watching the reruns as a kid of Captain Kirk and the original TOS,
Yeah.
So I'm a few years younger than you, as you know. Although neither one of us are spring chickens, I am a bit spring. My chicken is a little bit springier than
quite a bit younger because I did watch TNG, but I watched it rather than being into it. The original series will never be touched, but for me, nothing will ever compare to me for it. But Clobberin times did Mike. Did Mark like Irv Novick? I don't know if we ever talked about Irv Novick, but I'm sure he had his respect for him. In fact, I'm going to be talking about his favorite artist soon because, when we did our favorite artist show way back 2 years ago, Mark and I, he didn't send me a list. He wanted to surprise me with him. So I had to go back today and listen to that show so I can get his list. Because it deserves to be respected, his top 25 artists. And I'm going to read those out later. But, I'm sure he had respect for Novick. I mean, I like Novick okay, especially on my boy Mikey here's favorite character of all time, the Flash.
You and the Flash. There. You just had to go there. We were talking about Mark. We're talking about my Green Lantern, Green Arrow. Look. I got to tell you something. That care package that Shum sent me was pretty cool, actually. I gotta.
You got some cool stuff, didn't you? Yeah.
Dude, I gotta admit, like my heart's a little. I gotta admit, my heart is kind of cracked a little bit on the Flash issue and on the Alf issue because between all these guys who send me Alf stuff, including Loki and others, man, I'm building up there's an Alf and Flash war chest right now. So I don't know. I gotta say, I don't know, man. I just, let me put it this way. I hated Flash so much back in the day. I didn't even read if there were even the books that he was in where he played a prominent like role in Justice League, I would avoid those, but like I'd skip to the end kind of thing. You know, like if he had a story that was like weaving through, I'd kind of just like flip the page. I mean, yeah, the hate started early for me with Flash.
Wow. You know, well, that is the first time. There's probably almost no character that exists that somebody doesn't hate. But I mean, of all the characters, I've got to admit, I don't think I've ever heard, and I've heard people who hate Superman. You probably almost never heard about Batman. No. But other characters, even big ones, I've heard it. But so that's the first time I've ever heard it. Now I've heard people disliking certain iterations of Flash. You know, like we were talking about different Green Lanterns. Obviously, there are other Flashes. Now, me, I prefer Barry, but I love Jay, and I don't like Wally as Flash. So yeah, but you know, I'd never heard that, but I respect it. That's fine if he's not your favorite. I mean, I love Barry Allen though. I just love him. I think he and Jay Garrick, but I just think they are pretty powerful. I mean, when you can run that fast, if you can run that fast and your body can take it, that means you're pretty powerful.
Right.
I don't like the Speed Force crap though. Good God. Oh, who started that? Was it?
Who did start that, by the way?
Oh, I think it was Wade. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was freaking Mark Wade, but it may have been Wisner Lobes. No, it wasn't Mark Barron. Someone in the chat will remember. But I think it was Mark Wade that. I wouldn't put it past him, but see, you can over-explain powers too much.
Hungry to Clobber Bad Reboot to ask the question. Okay, you don't like Flash, but Thundra has a super similar costume. How about her? Well,
Thundra. You mean the girl?
Yeah.
She's hot. The Marvel character?
Yeah. Here,
That's
hold on. Let me
different.
watch this. Hold on. Let me bring this up here. Window. Here, watch this.
Thundra, like the Marvel Thundra? But she does have a red costume. Oh, yeah, that Thundra. Oh, cool. I love her. At Dragon Con one year, I ran up and went to a really hot redhead girl, lady cosplaying that. And when I walked up to her and said, "Hey, great Thunder outfit," she was like over the moon that somebody knew who she was cosplaying, because nobody knew.
Nice.
I mean, she was so happy that somebody's like, "Oh yeah, of course." Yeah, she's great, and she did it justice. By the way,
yeah,
I love Thundra. Yeah,
well, Mexican Iron Man would make an exception for her because, that's what he would do.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's a villain, and I don't know. I mean, because really, Hungry Boy, that's the best you can do, just because she has a red costume. I mean, and she does have some lightning on there, I guess, right? But she doesn't have. She can punch the thing, but she doesn't have like speed powers or anything.
No,
really reaching there, buddy.
Yeah, and I'm no Marvel expert. I'm no expert in Marvel titles.
But you knew who Thunder was, though, so that's pretty good. Oh, you got another one. Sorry. Oh my, yeah, I love her. Now, Ben Grimm was, man. I am Ben Grimm and everything, but he should have at least had some fun with her because she was in love with his rocky ass.
Right.
And all he did was be mean to her because he had Alicia. DC, if you hear me out there, you got that link, buddy. I don't know if you see.
I'm gonna have to go to bed and leave you because I gotta get some work done before Loki shows in the morning. So I'm gonna pop out. But thanks for having me for this last 30-40 minutes.
Dude, I appreciate you being here, man. I really do.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for doing this, Mark. Thank you so much for everything. God, I cannot believe it's been 2 years. I feel like it's been more like 5. I think I said this last year. I think it's been like 5. It feels like it's been 5 to 7 months, but God,
2 years, dude. Well, you know what? I'll always talk about them and I'll always reference them and we'll always call the show this. But a year from now, I will pay the same reverence just to but it will never be any different than any day. But we'll at least we'll never forget him. We'll always, harken back to that sad time 2 years ago. We got that tragic news.
Yeah. All righty. Well, good night, everybody. Clobby, thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.
Mark, rest in peace, and look down on us every day and guide us with your great fandom. All right.
Yeah,
love
buddy.
you, everybody. Love you, Clobby.
Love you, bro. Mexican Iron Man, everybody, our great friend. We really appreciate you, bud. That was a lot of fun. That was really cool. And I'm glad he came here to pay those respects. Because it's tough to know what to say, with a night like this. So, I think we'll just until our next guest comes in, we will let's see where I put it. Take a look at that playlist again. So we were like I say, some of the shows we've done. Let's see. I was running down the shows we did. Again, we debated John Byrne's Superman reboot, reviewed the comics Justice, and the Coming of Galactus, the Jack Kirby classic. We did a show which I'll talk about later. All time Mark, our top 25 all time favorite comic book artists, comics artists, I should say, because we threw a couple of strip artists in there as well. The best superhero cartoons. That was a fun one. And an interesting one that we did was movies into comics. And that was a show an idea I was proud of that. And he was as often is the case, he was the perfect one to do that show with. We talked about, you remember when every single big movie that came down the pike had a comic book adaptation? We talked about the comic book adaptations of big movies, and what a tradition that was to get the new comic adaptations and stuff like that. And did a show about that. And again, we thought it was a fun idea anyway. I mean, we didn't have any viewers back then. We didn't care. We were just having fun. I mean, because that's what this is all about, really. And then we did, what was it? Oh, yeah. Then we did, Flash Gordon, his 86th anniversary. And both of us big fans of the character of Flash Gordon. And that was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed that. We did our all-time favorite comic book covers. That was a great time as well. That was fun. We did. This was an interesting. We did one bad movies we love, and I couldn't think of many. But Mark really loved to talk about bad movies that he loved. That was a big thing. It was. I remember he was really excited about that topic, where he could talk about movies that are bad, but in a good way that he loved. And I only had a few. So I said, look, you make as many as you want for your list. I'll throw one in there every now and then. How about that? Hey, Scoglee. And it worked out that way. Oh, Chris, take it easy, man. Have a great night, buddy. Good to see you there as always, bro. Appreciate you. So that was a lot of fun. And again, I was tickled because he really, really loved that topic. And then we had a couple of open talks, and then we had a big Christmas party thing, and that was kind of the last one. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like 13 shows. It always seemed like so much more than that. I don't know why. It seemed like so much more. But it was fun, and that was the important thing. And let's see here. I think a good way to pay tribute to him would be to talk a little bit about something, again, that was really passionate. He was really passionate about. And of course, that's comic book art. Mark was a comic book artist in his own right. He just loved all the great comic book artists. And we did that show. It's one of our earliest shows where we talked about our top. We'd only get down to top 25. We did our top 25 a favorites list. And I think I should read his top 25, shouldn't I? Because he would want it known, to keep that list of his alive. So Every now and then I have to take my eyes off the screen, but I'll keep checking it. Okay. What's a good way to do this? Oh, okay. I got a way to do this. I think I know how to do this. All right. I didn't make any pictures, so I didn't get a chance to make any pictures of the first, except for the top 10 for him. So Mark C's top 25 artists, from counting down from 25. And when I get down to 10, we have a few pictures, but he would want them known. His number 25 was Wayne Boring, of course, the Golden Age artist, most known for his Superman work. His 24 was Eric Powell, most known, well, very relatively obscure, known for the comic called the Dark Horse comic called The Goon. The great number 23 for Mark is the great Al Williamson, Flash Gordon, Star Wars, Battlestar, not Battlestar, Star Wars, artist extraordinaire, inker for extraordinaire for DC, one of the greats. His 22 was the great Steve Rude, the Dude. His 21 was extraordinary artist, one of the best ever, the great Jim Aparo. His number 20 was Bruce Timm. His number 19 was Lee Weeks. His number 18 was Jean Giraud, a.k.a. Mobius. Some people like to say Mobius. His number 17 was Darwin Cook. His number 16, Will Eisner. His number 15, Joe Kubert. His number 14, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. His number 13, Milton Caniff. His number 12, Dave Stevens. His number 11, the great Alex Rabin. And I have pictures for the rest of them here that I made for him. These are Mark C's top 10 favorite comic book artists of all time. At number 10 is Alex Toth. He used to say Toth, by the way. He's one of the all-time greats, just a master of the craft, and Mark really, really loved his work. His number 9, the great Bernie Wrights, and probably one of the all-time great horror artists, of course. And, of course, we love his Swamp Thing and his Frankenstein work at Marvel. His number 8 was the great Big John Buscema, and he was extraordinary. His number 7 was the amazing Wallace Wood. His number 6 was, of course, the great George Perez. Now, the top 5, this is Mark C's top 5 all-time favorite comic book artists. No shockers here either. Number 5, Walter Simonson. I was a little shocked by Alan Davis being so high, but I respect that. I like Alan Davis. So his number 4 is Alan Davis. His number 5 is the King of Comics, Jack King Kirby. His number 2, of course, was the great Neil Adams. And number 1, of course, comes as no surprise. Mark C's all-time favorite artist. Of course, John Byrne. That is his favorite. I had my issues with Byrne, but Byrne made number 9 on my list. So, And a fine list it is by a fine gentleman who knew his stuff and knew what he loved. He loved comic book art. And so we will not debate his wisdom at these profound proceedings. Yeah, it's a solid. Oh, yeah, it's amazing. Like I said, the only thing that shocks me, I was a little surprised by Alan Davis, but I love Alan Davis. So it's fine. And just now that I'm remembering that he had him that high, or when I reminded myself they had him that high, I'm like, man, he would love that new series, Avengers War Across Time. So, yeah, Mark would like that. And what else? Something else Mark would like. I know he would be touched that so many people are remembering him so fondly. and all those great things that our buddy Mexican Iron Man said about him. I know he would have been touched by that. I know his family would have been touched by that. And so we appreciate him. And let's see here. What did I put my covers. He gave me his cover list, though. I have that. Covers. Where's the covers? Let's find it. Oh, there it is. Oh, there you go. I got his cover list. Should we look at his favorite covers of all time as well? We can find them. We'll have to just Google them. We'll have to do it the Google way. Huh. There it is. I would have collected pictures on them, but you can't fit them on this damn on the StreamYards. Let's take a look at. I'll have to do the kind of the loopy, old-fashioned way. We'll do that because Mark's worth it. And before we do that though, we have a special guest here. What's up, DC, the Great Doomcock, everybody?
Hail, Clobberin times. How are you, buddy?
Hey, man. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. We're honored to have you, bud. I'm honored.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I still miss Mark C. And, he was a good friend. And the fact that he's gone is still something that I miss. I'm just really sorry that he was taken from us like that. And, we always think we have more time with people, but sometimes you don't,
I still can't believe it's 2 years. Mexican Iron Man was just here a little while ago. We were talking about that. He talked about some stuff I didn't really know for sure. Like Mexican Iron Man was saying how, without Mark C, he probably wouldn't know you or any of us because he's the one that kind of brought him out of his, he would say, if you'll pardon any kind of a pun, like his shell or something in terms of, connecting with people, in this case, via the chats like your shows and others and stuff like that. And it taught him, I guess, he had a lot of help from Mark C to learn how to make friends, in these weird ways of being online, like again, YouTube chats and whatnot. So I thought that was interesting. I wasn't sure of that, but yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. But he was a good friend, and he loved soundtracks like I did, and
yeah,
he sent me Thor to read, the Simonson run.
Yeah,
and sent me John Byrne's Star Trek collections.
Oh yeah,
I had never seen those. Yeah, well, it was surprisingly good for what it was. He actually could tell a pretty good Star Trek story, and that's rare because mostly people can't. Mostly they stink.
Yes,
I point to the current assholes in charge running this thing, and by running it, I mean into the ground,
beneath the ground.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of them, even certain ones doing certain crap that people are liking these days, but we don't have to do that. We don't have to go there, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Total crap. Total crap.
Oh,
I don't know what
garbage.
History will vindicate me. Once the hypnosis runs out and they realize it's all recycled plot points from old Kurtzman Trek and Jar Jar Abrams, and all they did is slap some stolen music from it on it, and
member berries and the stuff.
Yeah, it's just a load of shit.
That's all they want. But it's Mark loved this stuff though. He loved the things we do. He loves comics. He loved But good God, did he love comic? We've been talking about that a lot lately. He loved comic book art. He was a great artist himself, and he just, yeah, man. It still doesn't feel quite real. There's still times when I'll think about something, and I was like, I wonder what Mark would think about. Oh, that's something. But that's something I would run by him. If I were like, I would think sometimes I would go, I know he would, or I would go, whatever topic we were doing about comics, whatever. I go, yeah, he would be one. He'd be interested in that. In fact, if he were available, I'd probably have him, get with me on that one if we were doing it. Because he was very busy a lot, but he did as much as he could.
Absolutely.
We did a lot of shows together, but it could have been it was going to be a lot more. You mentioned that Simonson run. That was our big plan to review that, and it's just so much of it. And I've been having I do these comic book review shows, and it is such a blast. We sit there, we run the whole comic, we show the comic to everything that happened to it, and happened in it, and talk about it and breaking them down. It makes for a really fun show. And he and I started doing that. And then, that was our next one. That was going to be the big plan. We were going to try to knock all of the whole Simonson run out, and it was going to be fun. I had it all set up. And then, of course, we kept having to push it back a little bit because of what was going on with him. And after that, DC, it was almost a year before I started back doing that again, because it just did, reviewing comics of any kind.
Yeah.
It just didn't, I don't know. I don't want to say feel right because, but I don't know.
I
didn't
know.
really want to. I mean,
yeah. Yeah. I hear you, man.
And I don't know if I'll ever review that one. I probably will, but it's going to,
Yeah. Well, whenever you feel ready, I'm sure, it'll be the right time. But, he was great. He loved soundtracks too. We used to talk soundtracks. He used to send me snippets of things and to listen to, on YouTube and stuff. He really knew his stuff, and he was just a great guy. His loss is something I still, I'll look at Thor or, those Star Trek comics or sometimes soundtracks and just think, yeah, damn, I wish he was still with us. And
yeah,
it's a darn shame.
Still hard to believe it's 2 years, and it's still not easy to wrap my brain around it. You can only imagine how that is for the family, of course, but
oh yeah,
it just makes no sense. All you can do is just all we can do. There's nothing I can do here. Just keep the show will be named after him forever, and in his spirit, because I know there are a lot of times when I can hear him. Like, it's weird because if we're talking or here, not so much. I just know what he's going to say about something. Like, when we're talking about comics, because we do that here a lot, or other geek stuff, too. Like I said, he had opinions of, hello there, Rod Thunderheart. Good to see you there, buddy. He had other opinions as well, but comics in particular, somehow I always knew that whatever we're talking about, I know he's got an opinion on it somewhere out there.
Yeah.
It was,
yeah. Well, it would be nice if he was looking down and, listening and smiling that he is still remembered,
Yes. Yeah. And I think he would be. I think he would be in the chat when he couldn't be on. He would still be in the chat there hanging out and, just being friendly with everybody. He knew how to, it's amazing how, and I know you remember this we probably talked about it last year when we talked about this, how he made so many friends with people online under the auspices of Mark C. When none of one in his family even knew the Mark C persona. They knew him as Steven.
Right.
And
right.
Weird. Yeah, they would say, "What is this, Mark? So what are you talking about?" I'm the one that it was kind of a strange thing at the 2 years ago now at the funeral, having to explain some of the pictures on his phone that he'd drawn of YouTubers and stuff like that they didn't know who they were. And they kept saying, "What is the Mark C thing?" And I had to explain it to them. And it's they didn't know anything about it. Not that he was hiding it, I guess. It was just, you know how it is. A lot of geeks don't really talk to if they have normie families or families that aren't really into the stuff as much.
Right.
You would know they wouldn't know what you're talking about anyway half the time.
Right. No, that's true. You know, he had, you know, he had a secret identity, you know,
Yes.
secret life kind of. Not he wasn't keeping it a secret, but you know, in the best superhero tradition, he was known. He was a man of many names, and he came and went through different worlds, and you know.
Well, he was buried like a superhero. He had this in his suit with it open with the S under it, just like Clark Kent. That's the way it was buried.
Yes.
Because they knew he loved Superman, and that was beautiful that they did that for him. And it just goes to show how much he loved this stuff. We were all asked to wear geek shirts at that funeral because the family thought that's the way he kind of would have wanted it. Instead of
Yeah.
like dressing up. And it's like that sounds like something I would want, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and yeah, he was an interesting kind of a cat, and he just was easygoing. And again, well, you know, it's no easy task. It's one thing when you're on YouTube talking to people, as you do, as I do to a lot smaller audience, but still I do or others do. He wasn't doing that. He was just in chats, and he made zillions and zillions of friends, just being friendly and exchanging knowledge, you know, and
Right.
making, you know, and what Mike just said earlier, you know, Mexican Iron Man just said just blew me away. I mean, I didn't realize it was that deep for him. How he said none of us, you or any of us, would even know who he is without what these influences he took from Mark C. And it's just like, I mean, in terms of putting himself out there to get to know people. And I did not. I mean, that's amazing, really.
It is, man. It is. And yeah, I miss him. I wish I had time to know him better, you know, that he would have grown in our, you know, in our community and stuff. But I did, you know, chat with him and you know, we did write each other and, you know, talk like we do. And he was very kind to me. He's a good guy. Obviously, I think a lot of people felt that way about him. I mean, that's why he made friends online, you know?
Yeah.
He was a really good guy, and I'm really grateful because, I mean, God, you know, if I wouldn't have found Mexican Iron Man or, you know, all the people that apparently, you know, he kind of brought into my sphere and stuff, gosh, I just wish he was still with us. And, you know.
Me too. But I tell you what, his family really appreciated how you and so many other people showed an outpouring of love for him that they did. I mean, they didn't know about it, but when I you know told them about it, when they learned about it, it really touched them in a truly wonderful way. You and others really, you know, they already loved him obviously, but that showed them something they had no idea that he touched so many other people out there, and I think they made him proud, and of course it touched their hearts, and you did a lot of that. So,
well, man, and you're carrying the, you know, the fire here, right? You're keeping the flame alive and burning, and I'm really glad that you are, man. I'm glad you remembered this, and that's just fantastic, you know.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you. Yeah, and well, we'll just every year. I'm never gonna let it go. Of course, I talk to him, talk about it every night because I say his name on the show. But every Monday night, you know. But every year I'm gonna be back doing it. This, you know, just paying tribute to him. And I know it's not much, doesn't mean much, but it means something to me. You know that. So to never forget about him because you know, and about his influence. I'll tell you a slight story I told Mike. You know, DC, that about 2 or 3 months, whatever, after his passing, one night I was having my buddy Michael French of Retro Blasting. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but we were doing a show. He was doing a show with me. We were ranking the Marvel movies of all things, and a lady. I told this earlier, but I haven't told this to DC everyone. So if you bear with me, the lady comes into the chat and is indignant that I'm daring to call my show Monday Night Mark C Comics Talk. And she's all getting, so how dare you? Mark C was my friend. Now it's clear she meant, you know, person that they used to chat with, and because she called him Mark C, that's a dead giveaway. She didn't know him for real life, you know.
Right.
Really loved him, thought he was, and how great he was to me. And he's my friend. How can you just call this show that? Well, everyone, you know, I stopped and I explained, you know, kindly that when he was my friend, I knew him in real life. I mean, I sold comics to him when he was a youngster. In fact, from my comic shop, and you know, everybody in the chat, Eric and a bunch of other people said, no, he's friends with him. He names the show after him. She was fine after that, but it always struck me as like, wow. I mean, out of nowhere, someone's protective of this guy that she just knew from chatting with him online and social media and YouTube, and I think that's kind of a testament to what a good guy he was, really.
Yeah. Yeah. She wrote into his defense against you exploiting him and, you know, selling Mark C t-shirts and,
yes,
you know, Mark C beanies and Mark C condoms, extra large, of course.
Of course. He'd appreciated that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There almost were Mark C t-shirts, by the way, because his sister was talking about maybe trying to do some kind of fund for his son, you know, and so using some of his art. We never got it put together, but he had some really nice art. You know, a lot of people didn't know about he was a good artist.
Yeah. He sent me a few of his pieces, and he was very good. And you know, I mean, he was a true geek like us. You know, one of us for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And the only thing people always say, you guys always argued on. No, we just argued about Byrne Superman. I hated it. He liked it. And that was that. We didn't usually, that was our first show we did together. Cause for years, you know, we'd bump into each other comic shops and we would argue about Byrne's. Hello there, lovely Sherry. Good to see you, my dear. Byrne Superman revamp of 86. And I hated it, of course. And he loved it. We're different. He's a lot younger than me, you know. And we would argue, said, well, you gotta have me on your show. This is way before I was on YouTube. And I said, sure, man, come on, we'll debate it one day. And I kept forgetting. And then finally, when I first started on YouTube, had him on there. That was one of the first shows I did, the great Superman debate. Although no one was there to hear it, but still, we had fun, you know. And we don't disagree too much though on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
That was one. Yeah, he loves some Byrne, and I do love Byrne's art. But I didn't like some of his writing. Now, he can write Star Trek. For some reason, Byrne knows how to write real Star Trek. So I don't know why. But he has to screw with every other character he gets a hold of.
Yeah, he does it.
Bored.
Yeah. He did it. I've been impressed more or less with the job he's done on the Star Trek stuff. As far as his Superman goes, I own, you know, that run. I mean, I know I've got it somewhere in my archives because I've read it. I remember when Batman, and he meet in that Byrne version, and Batman's got some kind of, I don't know, force field or something. He's got something.
He tells Superman, "I got planted a bomb on an innocent person, and if you try to touch me, it'll kill somebody."
Is that what he does? That's like very un-Batman like, but of course he's bluffing. So
yeah, it turns out to be that innocent person was him, but was Batman. He actually did the bomb on him, so he would have killed him if he touched him. But that was when he didn't trust. That was in Man of Steel #3, the original miniseries. And
exactly.
It was when it was Byrne's interpretation of when they first meet. Yeah, I don't like revisionism that much. I don't. In back then comics were hip deep in it. They just got off a crisis. I can't stand revisionism. And Byrne come along and he just dumped on all. In my opinion, and what he did, he just changed a lot of stuff that I didn't want changed. He did a lot of things I didn't like. But that was coming from an old school who loved the Golden and Silver Bronze Age Superman. And I didn't like this one, you know.
No, I agree. I mean, I don't. I mean, I didn't used to. They used to do that kind of shit in comics all the time. Yeah. And, there was all the Elseworld stuff. So it was just kind of like, well, they do this. But really, now I see, how bad it is. And, I would tend to agree with you that, it shouldn't have been done. I think it just waters down characters to where they're almost beyond recognition at this point. So, it's a drift. In terms of what he did to Superman, was downright respectful and reverential compared to the shit that they pull these days. But it starts out with a single step like that. And then, which isn't so bad. It's debatable, but then, then it just leads to more and more and more, continental drift, and suddenly,
Right.
there is no fucking Superman anymore. Not really,
It was a slippery slope. It was one of those things like, compared to later quote unquote retcons, if you want to use that word, or I call it revisions and whatever you want to call it. I particularly despise revisionism when it is done by someone doing it to someone else's creation.
Right.
I really can't stand. I despise a term I've used for years called respect what went before. And when someone shows no respect for what went before, that's another thing that drives me crazy. And again, that started in comics before it ever trickled over into those big IPs that we always talking about these days. They were doing it in comics years before they were doing it in things like Star Trek and Star Wars and Doctor Who and all those things. And it just hello there, Largo's Lair. Good to see you. Welcome. It just drives me crazy. I don't like it. And Byrne was doing it. Alan Moore at least did it well, and he didn't change. In other words, it's one thing to change something, but when you come out and say something didn't happen, that's a difference. That's revisionism.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And Alan Moore, I mean, well, other than, he would kind of do new versions of existing things, like, Watchmen is the Charlton superheroes, and and the Swamp Thing, well, that was just kind of extrapolating in a interesting logical direction, but he didn't change the whole fucking
No.
character. He played with it a little bit, but he didn't fuck it up. And I mean, he did one of the best Superman stories, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, I think is a wonderful thing, and a great swan song for Kurt Swan. So
I think that's a masterpiece, even especially the first issue when it was inked by Perez. Second issue, inking by Dave Hunt, not so much, but the art by Swan all the way through is beautiful. That and For the Man Who Has Everything are probably the two
right
Superman stories ever. And when you mentioned Swamp Thing, his Swamp Thing didn't say what went before didn't happen. He just said it actually turns out that something else is the truth rather than what was there. Whereas John Byrne came out and said these words, I kid you not, back then he said, something? Nothing ever happened to Superman unless I say it did. It's like,
well, yeah, then that's bullshit. Yeah.
I hated
that's
that.
Obnoxious shit. Yeah.
I'm a 22-year-old kid at that point that didn't like my Superman screwed up. Even though 2-year-old was too old to be reading comics, but who cares? I like them.
No, I agree with you entirely, man. I agree with you entirely. So, I didn't know he said that. That was pretty obnoxious and ridiculous. Makes him look like an idiot.
No, he was a total dick. He said that in an interview in Amazing Heroes, and then he went on. I remember he went on the morning show, whatever, with one of those morning shows. Who was that? Oh my God, the NBC one back then with Jane Pauley or whatever was interviewed.
Today's Show,
I think it was. Yeah, and he, and he said a lot of dumb stuff on there, but he was arrogant.
Yeah.
But he did some good stuff. His FF was good for a couple of years till he got bored with that. There's a guy that got bored with things. I mean, he'd do something for 2 years and then get bored, and it would turn to oop. But
right.
Except Star Trek, he drew a lot of good ones. Of course, when he started doing Photoshop Star Trek, though, I don't know if you've seen those.
Yeah, that's what he sent me. Actually, that's what.
The photo novels.
Yeah, he sent me the photo novels.
Oh, because I like the ones when he actually drew. Did he send you that one also?
No, well, he sent me the Romulan.
Right.
He sent me a little bit of that, but he sent me the photo novels, which I thought were well done. I mean,
Yes, they are well done. There was what about Star Trek Crew? That's a good one Byrne did. You might want to check out. It takes place, with the launching of the original, Robert April, when it was the Constitution, later changed it to the Enterprise, and has number 1 and Pike are on board. It's actually what should have happened. It's great. He did one called McCoy Frontier Doctor that was really good. It takes place around the time right between Mission 5 and the motion picture.
No, he never sent me any of
Oh,
those. No.
those by Byrne are really good. I like those. Those are
Huh.
fun. Byrne can write tracks.
Well,
I don't know what
I'll
it is
check
about.
them out at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah. So, in
I
honor
would
of
like to.
in honor of Mark, check him out one
Yeah,
of these days.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, he deserves to be remembered and thanked for everything that he did. You know, he was a great
absolutely.
guy.
Yes, sir. And you got him through many. By the way, you should know if he didn't, you got him through many a long. So he drove a lot for his job. His job had him just driving back and forth from way up north into Pennsylvania, whatever, down here to Louisiana all the time, and he would listen to you all the time on his trips, on the road trips and stuff. So
Oh
yeah,
wow!
yeah,
I didn't know that I had done that.
you did. He said, I mean, he listened to a lot of YouTubers and stuff like that. He said, I'd talk to him sometimes. He'd be, he'd be listening to your shows, and he listened to you live, of course, always too. But yeah, he never missed you, and he always enjoyed.
Oh
Always,
man. Well,
just
that's good.
enjoyed.
That's good to know. You know, it's kind of like Admiral O.F. Doom. Uh,
Mm,
he would put my Friday Night Frolic show on at night at the store he managed as they were doing stocking and stuff, and force the rest of the employees to listen.
cool.
He
Yeah.
was great too. I miss both of those guys a lot, and I'm glad you're
Yeah.
carrying on the tradition. And I don't know, maybe next time, maybe you could like replay like one of the live streams that he did, and have like people just typing comments and stuff,
Mm.
as they listen.
Yeah, maybe I can replay one of my own ones. I had to go because I was telling everybody earlier we did one of our early ones was we did our top 25 all time favorite comic artists, and I didn't have a list from him that night. Of course, it was very crude anyway. It was back then. I had a terrible mic, by the way. I had to go back and listen to it today to get his list because back then he did it. He wanted to do it as a surprise and see if I could predict enough of them so I could find pictures in time to show him and like a challenge. And anyway, but it was kind of fun. But I had to go back and listen to that today so I could write because I went and a little earlier. I told everybody his list a little bit earlier, but I it was going back and listening to that on a day like this. I was like, man, this is pumping me out, and also in a way making me feel good hearing him again
Yeah.
because those shows we did. Minimus is here, Minimus, but yeah, but it was good. It was he. Just for your edification, so his top 10. Um, his number 10 was Alex Toth. His number 9 is Bertie Wrightson, and number 8 was John Buscema. His number 7 was Wallace Wood. His number 6, you want number 6 was George Perez. So the man has good taste, and in his top 10 or his top 5 was Walter Simonson at 5. I was surprised at Alan Davis being so high. I remember saying that to him back then, and I did. But I like Alan Davis. And of course, he said, you're going to have to be sitting down for this one because he's going to be mad at me. And I said, well, I'll forgive you one day for having Kirby at 3. I might forgive you. And Mike, it's been 2 years, buddy. Mark, I might forgive you one day for it, buddy. But and then that 2, Neil Adams, and of course, his favorite was John Byrne. What's his number?
Well, John Byrne, I mean, I like him fine, but there's no way he was number 1.
Do you have a fave, by the way? I don't know if you had to pick one.
Oh God!
In honor of Mark C, throw a favorite Doomcock artist or 2 if you have, because I don't know if you have any that you stand out
Some of
for
my
or not.
favorite. I mean, Jack Kirby, obviously. Brian Bolland is absolutely hands down one of my all-time. I mean, I'm so impressed with him. I'm reading Judge Dredd right now, a whole bunch of Judge Dredd.
Cool.
And every time that his artwork comes, it's just like night and day, like head and shoulders over other artists. I mean, gee whiz, the guy is fucking amazing.
Yeah, when you read those Titan albums, his is the best in there.
Yeah, incredible stuff. Actually,
I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you had any on, oh, yeah.
well, I really love what Dave Gibbons did on Watchmen.
Oh,
But I mean, in general, he's not one of my favorites. But that is kind of one of my favorite pieces of comic art.
same.
But of course, Neil Adams, I agree, he was stunning. Jim Aparo did a great impression of Neil Adams.
I love Aparo.
Yeah, Aparo was great. Bill Sienkiewicz is amazing. His work on Batman Year One. No. That was Mazzucchelli.
Mazzucchelli, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean his stuff on Moon Knight and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Sienkiewicz, it had a raw energy that I really appreciated. Steve Ditko had an incredible charm. Wally Wood, absolutely. Yes. Wally Wood was astonishing. Bill Elder was one of the funniest artists in history on his run on Mad. And same thing with Mort Drucker, who did all those incredible Mad magazine, movie parodies like French Connection, Star Trek, All in the Family. Hell of a artist, but that's not well. It is comics, but it's Well,
Mort did some comics actually, just not a lot, but he did some Golden Age stuff, and then like in the Bronze, he would get when he was working for Mad, he would get side gigs at DC and never got credit for a lot of it. But,
Wow, I didn't know the guy could draw like a son of a bitch. I mean, just incredible gift of caricature. It was like it really, wasn't Shatner as Kirk, but it was, Adam West as Batman, and the way he would draw Burt Ward's mouth in that parody, I mean, him. How can somebody like absolutely capture the essence of these various actors so perfectly, but then exaggerate them in such I mean, it's a work of genius, really. But you're talking about artists. Rich Buckler was a hell of a comic book artist. Barry Windsor Smith, his stuff. He was slow, but he was great.
Love him.
Wrightson, of course.
Wrightson was great.
Swamp Thing.
Those Drucker stories. I couldn't, because of the Bad magazine, I would never call a movie by its real name. Every time I would see the trailer, like if it had some joke name, I couldn't stop myself.
Yeah,
those movie parodies. But yeah,
he was really so skilled at that. And I'm trying to remember the guy. I think he was Brian Vaughn. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy that drew books like The Adventures of Luther Arkwright. That guy was
Arkwright was Brian. Was there a guy named Brian Hitch? But there was also a guy named
I'm trying to remember what his name was.
Talbot. That would be John Talbot.
Talbot, yeah. That guy could draw.
Yes.
P. Craig Russell.
Craig Russell.
Incredibly beautiful lyrical style.
Great stuff. He was amazing.
Yeah. And which Buscema did he like, John or Sal?
He's got John up there. I do love me Sal, but I have John on my. John made my list farther down than it made on Mark's. Mark made it. He got him like an 8. But I love Sal, but John was. I mean, the older brother was better.
Right. I think they're so similar that it's hard to tell them apart for me. Honestly.
Similarity. Oh man, that is true. Was it? Thank you, Eric K. He wanted me to ask. He has a $5 super chat. Thank you, buddy. You're too kind, but you always do that so you can get me. Man, you could joke me for free. You know that. He said, Clobby, have you told Doomcock about your Wesley comic you made? He's always teasing me about loving because he knows how much I hate Wesley Crusher, so he's got to. Yeah, he's always got to make the Wesley jokes with me.
I know. I hate Wesley Crusher, but now I hate the whole goddamn cast of Next Generation.
They're all hateable now.
I'm done now. I'm just fucking done. It used to be I could stand Worf, but now,
Now I can't even stand him. They had to make him insufferable.
Yeah, they're all worthless now. So
they're
fuck
all a
it.
bunch of jerk offs. Thanks for another one there, Eric. You're too kind, buddy. You're very generous. He says, Clobby's favorite artist was Jack Kirby Rock in the bedrock days of the original stone tablets. So he likes to make jokes about a poor old man like me, man. Yeah, you ain't that much younger than me, boy. Well, maybe a little bit. Hey, JD Lewis. Yeah, I'm not that old. You young people. I know.
Oh, yes.
Even you're a lot younger than me, DC, I think. So, man, I'm just making you feel old around here. Oh, they like
well, also,
old guy.
We if we're talking about the greatest comic artist of all time, even though he wasn't, he didn't do a lot of comic art. He did some, and so you have to count him. And I would say probably the greatest comic book artist of all fucking time is Frank Frazetta.
It's interesting you mentioned that because, and of course, to me, this Kirby's easily number one, not just because of my bias. I mean, there was I don't know if you're familiar with an online mag called Tripwire.
Yeah,
used to be an actual physical magazine. Now, so about a year or so ago, year and a half ago, we discovered, when Mark and Raquel and I started doing our Clubhouse show, a segment. I found a Tripwire article that did a countdown list of the top 101 all-time greatest comics artists, right?
Right.
And so each week they would do one. They'd do in a segment a week, but they were already on like the 50 something. So I did a show covering them all. Then we made it a special. Each week we would cover the new entry, right? And each week I would tear them a new one for how ridiculous some of their. Oh my god! And so we went the whole year, or whatever, went through all of them, and they had sometimes they had some great ones. Talking top 10ers, top 20 minimum in the 50s, like 50 something or so. Some were no Joe Shuster at all, which is a travesty. No Kurt Swan at all, a travesty. There's like Jim Power at like 99. So the people who did this list, anyway. So we're getting towards the bottom. The top, because it counted down, right?
Right.
And they were getting a little better when they're getting towards the top 10 naturally, but. Because you just mentioned something. You mentioned Frank Frazetta. They had, obviously, we were all going, uh-oh. They're all thinking I was going to burst a blood vessel if it wasn't Kirby at 1. And they're all saying, oh, no. Clobby's going to die on stream because they're not going to have Kirby at 1. When we got to that last one, And I said, no, they're not that stupid. It's going to be Kirby because this is you're supposed to be being objective. It's not like a favorites list. For example, the list that Mark did there that I did, it's our favorites. We admit it's, we're not saying this is the best that we're saying this is the one our favorite. So we get to number 2 and 3. In number 2, you just mentioned him. He's Frank Frazetta. I would argue that he doesn't belong that high on a comics list. Fantasy artist, he's the greatest of all time. But comics, his body of work, I would argue what would knock him down into the 30s or something, but because there's some people in the 40s that should be in the top 10, but they did get Kirby right at number 1. So
that's the thing is, it depends on your criteria, and we didn't lay out the criteria. If it's in terms of, if you're talking about just in terms of quality, that's one thing. If you're talking about quality plus, prodigious output, then it's Kirby. But Frazetta actually had quite a career in comics. He did a comic strip called Johnny Comet, which was a racing newspaper strip. He ghosted for Al Cap on Little Abner for a while. He actually did some strips for Little Annie Fanny in Playboy for Harvey Kurtz. Harvey Kurtzman, and I think some other stuff.
Oh no, he did. Yeah, he did some science fiction comics. A lot of Western comics in the 50s. He did. Well, I say a lot. he did some comics work. What I'm saying is, when you're in the two, um, top two above guys like Eisner, and above guys like Hubert, above guys
Right,
like,
Eisner, of course.
I
Yeah,
mean, some of these people, I don't think he justifies being higher than a Hubert or an Eisner or a Ditko or somebody like some of these
right.
guys, or being up there at number two. I love him to death, and I think if we're talking about, um, fantasy artists, there's no one to compare, in my opinion. But in
No,
comics, he was a great. But really, you have to also to be a great. You have to name me about three or four, almost, I don't want to say household names, but comic shop hold names. In other words, like that everybody knows that they worked on.
well, and also
And when it comes to
time.
comics, yeah,
Yeah, but time goes on too, and you have to also, if you're going to say, do you mean comic books only, or do you mean comic strips? Because,
either.
I mean, then you're leaving off Alex Raymond,
No, he's on there. Yeah, he's great.
incredible artist. Hal Foster for Prince Valiant,
They had him down in the 30s, which is ridiculous.
and also, oh God, Russ Manning for Tarzan.
Totally left off the list.
I mean, so there's I mean, he was great. So there's
Yeah.
just a world of incredible fucking comic book artists, and it's very hard to, uh, you know,
No, I got you.
make a honest ranking. But
Needless to say,
shit.
I had a lot of fun tearing that one to pieces for those months we were doing it. It was.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I
I'm
mean,
sure.
there's sometimes and then when it was all done, I went and reviewed the whole list, and I went on there and I saw, and then I made a list of ones that were unbelievably ridiculous, glaring omissions. To name two, how do you make all-time greatest comics artists without Joe Shuster or Kurt Swan on there?
Oh yeah, that's
It's just
ridiculous.
outrageous, and there were a few other ones that were just not on the list. They had George Perez at 46. That's ridiculous. That's too low.
Oh yeah.
Gil Kane at 50 something. It's like, no, and John Ramita at like 50 something. Alex Toth at 60 something. That would have made our good buddy Mark C go insane. He would not have been happy with that because he loved Alex Toth. He has him at his 10 there. And I thought he was going to have him higher than that. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
but again, so whoever made that list, it was a fun segment. Every week I miss it. I need something else to yell at. So
Well, maybe some idiot will make another one.
you mentioned Judge Dredd. I don't know which ones you're reading now, but yeah, the Brian Bolin, who was slow. He, of course, I love his Judge Death story. But when you read some of those older Judge Dredd stories with Bolin, you get into the groove of a Bolin part of the story, and then boom, it goes back to Mike McMahon or Carlos Escobar.
I know McMahon was very crude in comparison.
Ooh.
Very crude.
Yeah, you're like, man, I was just getting Bolin, dude. And no, he was slow, man. Yeah.
Yeah, well, all the great ones, look at Barry Windsor Smith, he eventually had to just give up the Conan because he was constantly late. Shit, they had to publish his pencils at one point because it was so bad,
Yeah.
He just scanned his pencils in and fuck it, it's good enough. I don't know. But you gotta take the genius, you gotta take the genius.
That's why Bolin kind of, I think almost after Killing Joke, just decided to just do covers. He said, screw it, they'll pay me money to do covers, and boom. Covers.
Yeah, it's a shame. Because that was an amazing Killing Joke is really a high water mark for Batman illustration. And I mean, Alan Moore and Brian Bolland was just, that's one of my favorites of all time. That story is just astonishing. Fucking amazing.
That comic came out the day I opened my shop. The first day, I over ordered the hell out of it and still ran out of it eventually.
Well, yeah, it was fucking great, man. It was just great.
It was you talk about spark some conversation. That one, I mean, everyone was talking about that. And some people didn't like it. Alan Moore hates it now, but he hates everything though. He's nuts. I love the guy, and he's nuts. I'm sorry.
I know. Also, Mike Kaluta comes to mind. He was very great.
Yeah. He was just one of the. I love his shadow stuff.
Right. That's exactly what I was. That's exactly what I was thinking about.
He was starstruck.
And of course, Mobius. Uh, Holy shit, Mobius! What a great fucking artist he is,
Oh, he was
and
amazing.
one of the most influential artists of the 20th century. I mean, in terms of cinema, he practically invented Blade Runner, and uh, you know, uh, also The Fifth Element, and all these movies that had that kind of look.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, talk about influential. My God.
He was our buddy Mark loved Mobius. He loved it's Jean Giraud. I got to meet him once. It was a nice guy, nice fellow by Jean Giraud. But Jean Giraud, he his favorite thing by Mobius, I think, was Lieutenant Blueberry comics.
Blueberry, right? The Western. I've
Mark
never
loved
read
that.
it, but yeah, I was watching The Fifth Element this weekend and was looking
Mhm.
at extras on it, and it was talking about
Mm.
Blueberry, which I'd never seen and don't know anything about, but I'd like to read it at some point.
It was highly recommended by Mark C. He loved those things. He had all those albums and everything. He was a huge Mobius fan.
Yeah, Mobius is he's remarkable. I love his Metal Hurlant stuff, and
Mm.
Arzak, and of course the seminal Blade Runner prototype story, the long tomorrow. I think it was called
Hmm.
the Big Tomorrow. It was like a two part story that was in heavy metal that really had, the whole cityscape, like with the towering buildings that, you ride up, and flying cars. And it was just really, without that story, I don't think there would be a Blade Runner.
Wow. Really? Damn. Fascinating.
What was it called? The Long Tomorrow? What the fuck was it
I don't
called?
know. Someone here might know. Usually, if you get more than 10 in this chat or 20, however you get, if one of us doesn't know it,
Yes, I was
knows.
wrong. I was right. It is The Long Tomorrow.
Oh, excellent. Nice.
By Mobius.
Someone asked in the chat, hello, Darth. Said, who would win in the Star Trek trivia contest between you and Doomcock? Doomcock would destroy me. That's what happened. I would not.
Well, if it's the original Star Trek, probably. Next Generation, I'm deleting the appropriate files from my head.
I would never challenge him to such a duel, but I mean, I could hang with him, but
I'm sure
his young mind, in his young memory, he's probably got 10 times better memory than I have. So,
you'd probably do great, because I mean, you all have recently reviewed the whole thing, so it's very fresh in your head.
But I never trust myself when it comes like to trivia stuff, because I always forget. If I'm not thinking about it at the time, it'll come in there. But when I need to access the information, BJ needs the information. It's usually, it's not there. It's like, it's just right beyond the reach. So I don't know, but I know that if we were tag teams though, and there were the two of us against the world at Trek Trivia original series, we could dominate the galaxy.
Yes, absolutely. No doubt about it. And also, I would tell you that The Long Tomorrow, was drawn by Mobius, but it was written by Dan O'Bannon.
Wow, of Alien fame, eh?
Yes, it was a two-parter in Metal Hurlant, or Heavy Metal, as we called it in the States, back in '76.
Wow.
Yeah.
My goodness. Yep. Cool stuff. You have that? You have like an album of that or whatever?
Oh yeah. I think I've got it in a couple of different formats. Really, really amazing. You should check it out. I mean, it blew me away at the time, and it really is so much Blade Runner.
Nice. That makes me want. Did you ever Metal Hurlant? I think it was done by Metal or Heavy Metal. They did an adaptation of the movie Outland by Jim Steranko did it. The movie Outland with Sean Connery.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that.
Seen that Steranko adaptation of that? Oh man, I
No.
can remember all those times I walked into Walden's or whatever, B. Dalton, whatever, back when it was out on the shelves in 1980, wanting to get that, but I didn't want to spend the money. And now you can't get it. If you just Google Jim Steranko Outland, some of the most gorgeous art you've ever seen. Steranko was, fantastic. Anyway.
Oh yeah, we forgot Steranko, which is a shame. His stuff on
he's-
Agent of Shield was just mind blowing. 60s pop art explosion stuff. Really, really great. I mean, it started out like, Kirby. They forced him to follow
like they
kind of roughs that were done by Kirby.
Yeah.
But eventually they saw that he was remarkable, and then you started getting some amazing, psychedelic, over the top compositions. He was just remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello there, Morb. Hello there, Ghost Rider. Writer, I should say. He says his skull's not flaming or anything, folks. Okay, just in case. Hey, Cam. Good to see you there, buddy. And Monkey Jeebus is here. My favorite name. That's my favorite name when Raquel is here because the way she says it. Monkey Jeebus. Can't do it like that.
That's great.
Say his name. What's it? Richard Corbin's Den. Oh yeah. Oh, for heavy metal. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. That was
cool. Yeah, Den. Yeah.
Richard Corbin's another one.
Corbin was pretty amazing.
He did the I think the comic adaptation of Harlan Ellison's Boy and His Dog book.
Oh no, I never saw that.
This is Richard Corbin. I don't know if you're familiar with The Boy and His Dog, but
yeah,
movie. Yeah. There's a Richard Corbin comic adaptation of that. Strangely enough.
How about that?
Yeah, yes, indeed, man. Oh my goodness. Well, I'll tell you what, everyone. I'm so glad you're all here with us tonight, celebrating our great buddy Mark D with us. Let's say Mark D. I'm so used to saying Mark D with a C because he's there in the chat, our chief engineer. Mark C. This case. Mark D is still with us. Don't panic.
Oh, thank God for that. Thank God for that.
I haven't thrown him out of an airlock yet. I haven't thrown him out of an airlock yet.
No. But anyway, I just wanted to come in and say hi and pay tribute. I got to run, but it was a lot of fun. I'm glad we were able to talk comics in the spirit of Mark, and
yes.
Hopefully it put a smile on his face and he wasn't too outraged.
I hope so. He's probably saying, "You dumbasses, I know more than you are." But and I'm glad we did that because I've never got a chance to really just shoot the shit about comics, and it's one of my favorite things to do is talk comics. So that was fun.
Oh yeah,
I enjoyed that. So
me too, man. It was great stuff. One of the worst comic artists of all time. I hate to say it. I don't mean to be mean, but Herb Trimp. Herb Trimp.
Oh, love for Herb.
It was just awful. Everybody had these gigantic teeth. I don't know why.
I gotta admit, I like me some Herb Trimp. His earlier stuff when inked by the Severins, though, when they kind of calmed him down a little bit on his Hulk. But I guess I can't. It's tough to dispute it, though. He had some weird looking art. No, it fit for the Godzilla comic because there's no humans in it. Really.
Well, yeah, Godzilla, and I mean he also did Amazing Adventures, Kill Raven.
Oh yeah. Well, the P. Craig Russell issues are better for that one.
Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Herb. I don't know. I kind of have a soft spot in my heart. Yeah, Shogun Warriors. He did. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, robots.
Yeah, well that's okay, but the teeth and this very very stiff poses. I mean,
it's a fair cop, but society is to blame.
Yes, I agree. Poor guy. I mean, I don't hate him or anything, but he actually was a really nice guy from what I hear. And
yeah, because there are guys to beat up on that are way worse than that. No, D-Bud, I'm not going to say Tuska because he'll get mad at me. I'm not going to bitch about Tuska, but there were some other ones like. See, I've talked about this a lot, DC. There, at the time when I was a kid, and I would open up a comic with like a Kirby cover or a Gil Kane cover, and on the inside was Frank Robbins or Don Heck. I didn't know these guys were in their late 60s and their arms were falling off from drawing so much, and they were barely making ends meet, and they were desperate need of a job. All I knew was, this sucks, because I was a kid. And then later, when I learned all this stuff about comics history, different things like that, I'm like, wow, I used to be a total a-hole about this because this poor old man was just lucky to get this drawing gig for a lesser selling Marvel comic. There was like almost a bi-monthly type, but like Invaders. God, look at all those great characters on Invaders. Gil Kane covers, Jack Kirby covers, Rich Buckler covers. And you open
Oh
it up,
yeah.
and the art on the inside by Frank Robbins looks like it should be hanging on the refrigerator door.
Yeah, I know. I know it. It's a shame. It's a
But,
shame.
bless him. That old man.
Yeah. Also, don't mean to neglect Alex Ross. No doubt. Yeah, I think he's a great comic artist. I mean,
yes,
a lot of his stuff is painted, but nevertheless, it's very dynamic, really intricate. He's a unique talent, I think.
Yes, I had him on my list. I had to make the allowance on the list because technically it is still graphic storytelling of a sort. It's not necessarily sequential art per se. It's kind of static, but it's just a different kind. Like Bruce Timm, and Bruce Timm was a different kind of a cat, and he kind of annoys me sometimes, some of the stuff he says. He didn't think he was friends with Ross, but didn't think that was comics.
Well, I think it is. I mean, it's just because. I mean, just because he painted it. I mean, obviously he could draw it. So
he could draw. Oh, he could draw. Yeah, it's true.
He could draw. I mean, he'd draw the paintings before he painted them. So
not only that, did you see the that new book he did last year called Fantastic Four? That new Fantastic Four hardcover book he did. He did draw that. He did not paint it. He drew it. Have you seen that thing?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, dude, the art's beautiful, and it's called what's it called again? Alex Ross Fantastic Four book. It came out last. Okay, Full Circle. This is a book that mind you, it bypassed Marvel. Marvel only had licensed it out, farmed it. I hate the name of the company because it's Abrams, but it's a book company, so it's different. This is a book called Fantastic Four Circle. It's some of the most beautiful art you're ever going to see, and he does some of the colorings looks sort of like those old black light paintings.
Yeah,
but he penciled this. This is not done in this painted style,
right?
And it is. I think it's beautiful, and it was a good story. It's set in a time where it kind of feels like one of the older stories. It's actually a sequel to a classical Kirby story.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever get a chance to get that book, it's a hardcover. It's only like, I don't know, $25, $30, whatever it is now. It was if you ever get a chance to pick that one up, you just want to read a classical Fantastic Four story that looks, like the real deal and has beautiful art. But Alex Ross, you see that there? This is a gorgeous book.
Sounds good. I'll take a look at it. I'll take a look for it.
See that on the screen there, but
let me hold on just a sec here. Let me see if I can hold on. Oh yeah. Look at that.
That's different from anything he's ever done.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's just basically how he does his paintings, but he doesn't have to paint them. So,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, come on. That's great stuff.
He
can do it in different styles, too. I mean,
that takes place in the negative zone, and it's not influenced by any current modern crappy quote unquote continuity.
Right.
It's just like a story picked up right out of Kirby, Kirby's time. And it is a sequel to a classic Kirby story. So if you ever get a chance to pick that one up, it's really worth it. It's called Fantastic Four Full Circle. It's Abrams books, but it's Marvel had to license it to them, so it's really not a Marvel comic at all. Imagine that's where Marvel is right now. They can't do anything decent themselves, but they can hire it out.
Incredible. Yeah, no, thank you. I'll check that out. And also, finally, I would say probably Bill Everett is one of the greats of all time. He could really beautifully. His figure work was really, really beautiful. And also, I would say Marie Severin could really draw some funny shit in fucking Not Brand Ech.
Not Brand Ech. Yeah.
that fight between the inedible bulk and the sunk mariner is just one of the funniest damn things. I remember reading that, and when I, like submariners on the beach, like building a sandcastle, you see the Hulk in the distance, like coming up out of the water, and he's got his little shovel and shit. And then you turn the page, and then it just made me like laugh like my ass off because the bulk was like stomping on the sandcastle, and the look of horror on the submariner's face was just priceless. Great
Nice.
stuff. The Not
Love
Brand
it, man.
X stuff was fantastic. It was
Yeah.
very funny.
Oh God, yeah. Great stuff. Love it, man.
I wish
Love
they'd
all
have
that stuff.
done more of those,
Yeah. I want to have like an omnibus of that now. They probably do. Well, I don't know. They might.
I
That
don't
would be
think
one to
so.
do
I
an
don't
omnibus
think it's
of.
ever been reprinted. I've
Damn.
got some of the originals like stashed away in the vaults, but I don't know exactly where they are. I could find them. But
Excellent.
yeah.
Love it. And yes, those are great choices. Everyone's saying yes, indeed. We'll give Bill Everett was extraordinary. He just recently had a creation of his ruined by the MCU, but we won't talk about that. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, she very, very funny. John Severin was okay. He was okay.
Yeah,
I liked him.
I love John Severin's covers. He does a lot of great covers. He was like the Nick Cardy of Marvel. They did a masterwork of Not Brand X. Thank you, D-Bud. Yeah. Wow.
They did a masterworks of what?
Of Not Brand X.
They did?
Yeah, D-Bud tells me. So yeah, I never saw that one.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I'll have to try and track that down.
Yeah, Ramaswamy. I like Paul Galassi. Galassi kind of was inspired by Steranko, but yeah, and I love Mike Grell. He was kind of inspired by.
Oh yeah, Galassi was great. I used to like his stuff on Eclipse or Pacific. Those smaller titles. They did those Alien Worlds and
oh yeah,
and there was some other title.
Six from Sirius, right? Alien League.
I don't. Well, it was from Pacific or Eclipse. Kat Urand was the editor.
Yeah.
And I remember this one thing he did where Galassi was obviously using James Coburn as the model for his character, the lead character in the story. And it is very effective. Galassi is a hell of an artist.
He's great on Master of Kung Fu.
Yeah.
He was great on that. Very kind of a Steranko-ish feel to some of the stuff. He did some Batman even. And, love it. Great stuff. Yeah, so many great ones out there. No, so many not doing anything anymore. Yeah, we mentioned. Oh, we've talked Rights, and that was on.
Anyway,
Mark's list. Love him. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, God bless Mark C. And thanks for having me on, man. And carry on and keep that flame burning, man.
Appreciate you being here so much. You don't know what it means to me, man. Thank you. And we'll just unbelievable. It's been 2 years, but we'll never forget him. We'll always pay tribute to him here, man.
100%, man.
Everyone, you don't. The man needs no introduction, but please, if you haven't been to his channel, you don't know what you're missing. The great Doomcock, and dear friend to us all, and of course, future ruler of Earth. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, brother. You take care. Bye-bye, everybody.
Take care, man. Let's see here. Where'd I put that? Where'd I put my? Oh, more pictures. Everyone, the great Lord Doomcock. I'm so honored to have him here with us tonight. Mark D, where you at, duder? Are you out there? Carte blanche. I don't know if you feel like it, because I'm about to wrap it up in a second anyway. But I was gonna show some. Well, I was gonna find some Mark's cover list, but we'll probably hear. Oh, there you are. Hey, dude. What's happening? Yeah, I was going to probably go over Mark's cover list real quick, but we've kept the one so late. Well, it's for Mark, though.
Yep. It's good tribute. Yeah, it was family night tonight. Kids are back from college, so we had pizza and movie night. So,
Cool.
but I definitely wanted to be here and
No, I'm glad you did.
in tribute. Yep.
Yeah,
Hailed everyone in the chat. Yep.
He's something. He is
Yeah,
something.
and I only
Mark.
got to know him for a few months, I think. Unfortunately, but as I said in the chat, he was always such a super nice guy. And sometimes people that know a lot of stuff are really condescending or like, "What are you, stupid?" Or he was always so nice, and you'd ask him a question, or he would always like explain things, or this happened in this issue, or this is what happened. But he was never, certain people are always, some people are real jerks about, saying, "No, don't you know what you're talking about?" Or, but he was always so nice and friendly, and just I remember the last he mentioned he was not feeling great. His gallbladder was bothering him, and he was trying to get he was gonna try to get a divorce from it. And I said, well, I hope it's a painless divorce. And unfortunately, then we know what happened. It was unfortunately turned out to be cancer. But
yeah.
But
Hey,
great guy, great guy. Yeah.
Are you calling Maddie's daddy condescending?
Not Thor, no. I don't want to get hit with those guns.
Darth, do I have the Marvel Masterpieces toy of the Thing versus the Hulk? I mean, is that a twofer or something? I don't know. Did they do a Masterpieces 2? Yeah, I mean, the man sitting with me here probably does if that's.
I don't have a ton of masterpieces because I usually just buy all the
I don't know if I have that.
I'm a sucker for buying the issues, but what about the one we reviewed, the Hulk versus the Thing?
The comic?
Comic, yeah.
I don't know
comic,
I'm not sure exactly what it's referring to. But anyway, let's how about we show his covers?
Sure.
This is number 25. These are Mark C's favorite all-time comic book covers. We'll try to get through them quick. Number 25, of course, is Hulk number 377.
I got that one.
You like that cover?
That's a great cover, yeah.
Man,
who drew that cover?
That's Dale Keown and Bob McLeod.
Okay,
now,
yep.
Now again, it's a diorama. I don't think I have that one, Darth. I wish I did. So, yep. I mean, his covers in mine, but when we did this show, could not have been more different. We have some of the same, I guess, here and there. But let's see. Dale, of course, is Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 1, volume 1, number 4 is this number 24 cover. That is, of course, the great Jim Steranko.
Yep.
Gotta love that. That's beautiful. Sorry, this is the only way I have to show it, everybody. So, let's see. Next is.
I wish I had that one.
Oh, yeah. You don't have that one?
Don't have that one.
Not have that one.
I don't ask because I bought stupid new comics instead of buying classics back in the day. Right, it was a lot cheaper.
Yeah. Of course. Well, sorry. And this is number 23 for Mark. This is number 23 on Mark's list. This is a great cover. Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man number 186 is number 23. All-time favorite cover of the great Mark C.
That's a great one too, yeah.
Let's see here. Yep. All right, number 22. Takes a second, everybody. I'm sorry about that. Is getting there. Number 22, all-time favorite cover of the great Mark C. is New Teen Titans number 40. Volume 1, number 40, I should say. So, that's a great cover there. I know y'all remember that one.
Cool. Yes, it's scary.
Number 21 They all come up. It's kind of sometimes at Google might throw you off a little bit. That is, of course, by the great George Perez. Duh. All right. Where were I? Number 21 is. I got to move this thing so I can go faster. Detective Comics number 587 by Norm Brayfogle and Anthony Tolan.
Nice.
Again, he liked him some Brayfogle. That cape is messed up, isn't it?
Yeah. It's in the wind, but it's like another character, right?
I think you'll find this next one interesting. You might even. Do you have that detective?
I might have that one. I
You-
probably
I-
do. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
probably
bet.
do.
I'm gonna bet you have this next comic. Let's play.
All right,
Let's play.
let's
We'll
see.
make a game of this.
Play a game.
We'll make a game inside a game here. That you have this because I'm sure Mark won't mind us playing this game. The next cover, number 20, is The Mighty Thor number 460.
Well, that's an interesting one. Early 90s, or when the heck is that? Or late 80s? What's the price on that?
93.
Oh, I said early 90s first. I'll stick with that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing I have that. Yeah.
You probably have that. You were buying the comic at
Yeah,
the
it
time,
was.
right?
Yeah, I started again in the early 90s, so took some time off.
All right, the next one, this no-brainer. Everybody here has this one. Even I have it. Okay, number 19. The number 19 on the all-time favorite covers list of the great Mark C. is The Dark Knight Returns number 1.
Yep, I got a poster of that in my hallway.
Let's see. It's tough to find the actual cover because there's so many reprints.
Yeah.
You all know what it looks like.
It's that one. Yeah, that one there, right?
Yeah, it's similar to that
Well,
one.
that's
That's like on the hard covers, but it's that basic cover. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
You can't find a decent representation on there.
from issue number 1. Yeah, that's gorgeous cover. That's just.
It is a good cover.
Although
I mean, it's
the only thing I always, the cape splitting there always looked like the butterfly, or like reminded me of the Tick, his sidekick Arthur with the. I just don't. Sometimes I don't like the split, but I think he did that so you could see the definition in the cape because it's all black. But that's just extreme nitpicking.
of course by Frank Miller. Yeah. Number, where are we at? 18. All-time favorite cover of the great Mark C. is that's the wrong one. There we go. The Shadow. The Shadow, Blood and Judgment number 4. That might be the wrong one. Hang on, everyone. That's the wrong cover. There it is. I think. They won't.
By
That's
Chaykin,
Dynamite. It's by Chaykin. I gotta find it. It's supposed to be number 4.
The Shadow. I'll look on my comic book program.
I think it's this one right here. This has got a This is it. It's just got the stupid Dynamite thing on it because it's a reprint. Okay. That's what threw me off. That's it. I remember the cover, but I'm just trying to find one that has the actual damn cover from when it was original. No, not the stupid there it is. That's as close as you're gonna get right there. So that's what it's not easy to find some covers.
Yep.
Number 17. Is All right, number 17 is. All right, number 17 is the Batman Adventures Holiday Special, number 1. Why do I have so much
Nice.
trouble finding some of these covers?
Well, there's just so many volumes now of comics too, so it's not like the old days. There was just Batman and Detective and Brave and Bold. You know, there's a gazillion volumes too.
Yep. True enough. Number 16 is, that is, of course, by Bruce Timm, that last one. Number 16 is, okay, hang on. I'm going slow. I'm sorry, buddy. Blip. But I want to do this for Mark. I feel like it needs to be done. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 101. You have that one. By John Byrne.
Yeah, I definitely have that. Yep.
You like that cover? Oh, it is a pretty
Yeah, it's
interesting
cool.
cover.
It's cool.
It's pretty
That's really
cool
cool. I know
cover,
you don't
yeah.
like the black costume.
I don't like the black
but,
costume, but that is a pretty good cover.
It works in some storylines. It works better than others, and then he's coming back to the classic costume anyway. So, but
True enough.
great cover.
Let's see here. Number 15 is Bernie Wrightson, Master of the Macabre, number 4 by Bernie Wrightson. That's a spooky cover right there, folks.
Ah.
Spooky. Number 14 is. Oh yeah, I remember this one. All right. Sorry, everybody. It takes me a second to get travel over there to get it. But this was the best way to find them. So it wasn't gonna, this thing can't hold any pictures anymore. No, it's Alpha Flight number 17 by John Byrne, which was a redo
That's
cover.
Classic. Yeah.
It's a remake cover, isn't it, though? It's a
remember.
copy of an older X-Men cover.
Well, you're allowed to rip off yourself.
I suppose. We loved him some Byrne. So, number 13. This was interesting to me, and you do have this one. I'm not even asking you. I'm telling you, you have it because you do. I mean, there's no way you don't have it. I don't have it anymore because I'm an idiot, but you don't have it. But you do have it. Fantastic Four number 222, and it is one of the greats. Though it's John Byrne and Joe Sennett. Am I right?
Probably. I'm assuming I have that one. Yeah, I have a few gaps in the collection, but yeah.
Yes, indeed. I do like that cover though.
It encapsulates the FF perfectly, right?
Yeah. Byrne and Sennett are perfect together. No, they're FF. I love them. Okay. Number 12 is Wonder Woman number 1, 1986. So it's the George Perez cover. It's a wraparound cover. Remember that? You probably have that one.
I don't have that one, but I mean, I've seen that cover lots of times. Yeah.
I'm so disappointed in you not having that one. Okay, number 11. What a letdown. No, just kidding. Yeah. Number 11. Captain America Annual number 8. But you have this one.
Let's see if I got that one.
Mike Zeck.
Sometimes you didn't get sometimes the annuals were, especially if you're shopping at the time at the newsstand. It's tough to get.
That could be. That's a good print. Number, where are we at? Number 11. No, that was 11. We're down in the top 10, folks. Number 10 on the list of the great Mark C's all-time favorite comic book covers is Uncanny X-Men number 141 by Terry Austin. He rarely did anything by himself. This is pretty interesting here, Hungry Boy. You got Terry Austin, hot dogging it. And it's a pretty interesting cover. That was the end of the
classic story.
End of the burn run. Yeah. End of the burn run right there.
That was the last issue?
Either that or the one after it. I think it was the one after it was the last one. I think the one after it, 143. Next up. Number 9 on the great Mark C's all-time favorite comic cover list is Fantastic Four number 260. Now he loves the simplicity of this cover. I was not too happy with Vern at that point. It is an interesting pick, but he's an artist. I'm not. So what am I going to tell him? But he found it interesting. That it was very simplistic and stuff. He made obviously his description of it was better than mine, but it is Burn on the pencils and inks. I was close to, if I hadn't abandoned the book already at that point, I know it was getting close.
Yeah.
Can't remember now. Number 8. Number 8. Number 8 is,
and of course, I have that one.
Swamp Thing number 1, volume 1, number 9. Sorry.
Oh, number
That's
9.
a great cover.
I have Swamp Thing 1 and 2, but I don't think I have number 9.
So,
the cover.
Are you saying, Hungry Boy, that you're with M on this one, as in Mark C or Mark D? And on which one? The that FF cover? If you would elaborate. But this is I do love this cover though. This is a beautiful cover. But Bernie Wrightson, that of course, the great Bernie Wrightson.
Surprised you didn't pick number 1 though, or I guess you get a more of a number 1. You don't get the face of the Swamp Thing, so number 8 you really get to see his face. There.
True, that is true. It's a good part. It's a great choice. Number 7 is Avengers number 57, and this is a great choice. This is one of the all-time great covers.
Oh yeah.
Again, it's another like one color cover, but it just works. He said Mark C on FF. Gotcha. Thank you. That's a beautiful cover. I've always loved that cover. The comic, of course, is so great too. Now, interesting one here, which is pretty cool. It's a great one. But it's one I think you won't be expecting, or many people will be expecting. This is number 6. All-time favorite cover. Comic book cover, that is, for the great Mark C. And it is EC Comics Incredible Science Fiction number 33. By the great Wallace Wood.
I wonder if these were comics he owned or just came across and just loved the covers. Or
I think he may have had to get a reprint of this one. He owned a lot of them. He may have had this one.
He had a big collection, right? Yeah.
Until the flood, he had a big collection. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is Wally Wood. This is a magnificent cover right here.
Raquel would love that one. Wow.
She would love that one. Yeah. I think she really liked that. Yeah. Look, Wallace Wood was, again, I was re-listening to that show we did, and I was reminiscing, got remembered that Mark, of course, he loves Wallace Wood. They always say Wally Wood, and Wallace Wood hated being called Wally Wood.
Oh, he did?
He said either call him Wallace or his friends called him Woody, but he hated.
Okay.
Because Stan Lee started that crap, and he hated Stan Lee. So Sorry, everyone. He did. He hated Stan Lee. Don't blame me. Number 5. Number 5 is alive. Number 5 is the number 5 all-time favorite comic book cover of the great Mark C is Fantastic Four number 3, and who can blame him? It's a masterpiece. It's one of the greats. In simplicity itself, it's just beautiful.
Is that the first one with their costumes too, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Jack Kirby and Dick Ayers. Matty Zeddy says, Spider-Man 151 is my favorite comic cover ever, followed by anything by Brian Boland. Did I have to look up 151? Oh, that is a great cover, but no, I'm not throwing a blank on it now.
Which one is that?
151. We'll have to look that up. We'll look it up, Steve.
Yeah, we'll look it up. Yeah.
All right. Okay. He knows what I thought of this next one. Number 4.
God, I wish I had that book.
Which one?
That FF issue.
Oh, yeah.
That's gorgeous.
Number 4 all-time favorite comics cover of our good friend Mark C is, always shall be, this one here, the Man of Steel number 1, but not, you got to find the direct market cover. Can't find a big picture of it.
Does it look like that, or is it got a totally different look?
That's the cover, but that's a little tiny picture of
Tiny picture, yeah. So that's more burn on that one, or
it's burn.
Yeah, it looks like burn. Yep.
We just can't find a good picture for some reason. Why would they not have a picture of it? I mean, that's a direct market cover. Well, you all get the idea. You've all seen it. It's nuts, huh? Hey, Sean Carter.
Hey, Sean.
What's up, bud? Let's see here. So, number 3. Oops. Hang on. Number 3. Getting it. Is The Rocketeer Adventure Magazine number 1 by the great Dave Stevens. And that picture won't. Damn it.
They're blurry, but.
Why is it blurry?
Sometimes the images are real low res, for thumbnail. There you go. Great
cover. You had a lot of fun reviewing the Rocketeer comic with that Nick Weisers. And that's, of course, by the great Dave Stevens. Okay, number 2.
Punch those Yahtzees.
Yes, sir. Number 2, all-time favorite comics cover, I should say, for the great Mark C is Uncanny X-Men 133. And it's hard to blame him. It's a great cover.
That's probably the first issue where Wolverine really broke out on his own and became.
Wolverine
that's
alone.
Helped him become a star. Yeah, that's one of the.
Yeah.
I remember reading that one the first time, and it just blew you away how cool that character was.
Man, they botched that on the animated series. Jesus.
Well, you can't kill people.
You can't do much.
Yeah.
So anyway, who wants to know the number 1 all-time favorite cover of the comic book cover of the great Mark C? Who wants to know? I got to know.
I got to know.
Do you got to know?
I got to know. Yep.
How you got the motion? All right, let me see if everyone's ready. Drum roll. Well, he wouldn't appreciate that, would he? All right. Is everyone ready? Here we go. This is the all-time favorite, number 1. It's tough to pick 25. It really is. All-time favorite cover. Comic book cover of Mark C. The great Mark C., our dear friend. We honor him.
Take a guess, or
We don't have to. It's
no, after yeah.
Superman Forever #1 by Alex Ross.
All right.
He loved that cover. And we will not debate his profound wisdom at these proceedings. But that's a pretty damn good one. I had that on a shirt.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if I ever bought this comic or not. I don't know if I bought this comic because it was like the
When
90s.
did that one come out? Let's see.
I don't know, maybe 90s. You probably have it.
90s. Yep.
Not sure.
Looks like there's a signed one on the third column down, first row. Certificate of authenticity. It probably was signed there or something. Yep.
Yeah. Could be.
Yep.
Well, tell you what, everyone, I thank you all for being here with us tonight and sticking with us there. I wanted to. It was so great of a Mexican Iron Man to come in and visit, and the great Lord Doomcock, two good friends of Mark C. that miss him very much. And I know, he will always be remembered here. He will always be super to us. He'll always be our gold standard for comics. And Stephen, everybody, Kyle likes his choices. There were some great choices. And we'll just honor him. Well, and I'll honor him every week by calling the show by his name. And I can only hope he wouldn't have minded. Who knows? Maybe he'll come back and say, "Dude, who told you you could do this?" I don't know. But his family are nice about it, and you know what? If he would, I'd be happy. If he came back and said, "I came back to get your dumb ass to stop putting my name on your dumb show," I mean, that's worth it to have you back, buddy. But you still got to come on the show and hang out. That's what I would tell him. So we'll always miss him. There wasn't enough. I didn't get to hang out with him nearly enough. But we got to do a few shows, and important thing is he touched a lot of lives. He touched a lot of people's lives, people that he didn't really know at all in real terms, and yet he still managed to touch their lives. And it's interesting, he touched a lot of lives, and he didn't do a channel. He didn't do any kind of performance elsewhere. Even though he liked to draw comics, he didn't even draw comics for a living, even though he would have liked to have drawn comics for a living, I'm sure. He didn't do anything performative whatsoever. And yet he touched, hundreds or thousands of lives. It's arguable. Those of you who heard what Mike, Mexican Iron Man, said at the beginning of this broadcast tonight, Doomcock didn't even know it. I didn't know it. When Mike said that it was Mark C. who inspired him to put himself out there in the YouTube community, to start mingling more with people and to communicating with more people, and eventually making the contacts and the friends that he did. And now he's friends, and not only that, producers of a lot of channels and all that stuff, friends with a lot of people. He credited Mark C. with inspiring him to do all that.
Yep.
Pretty amazing. And just a testament to what an astonishing fellow he was, and he'll be deeply missed forever. That's all. That's unfortunately the people left behind can only do is miss him, and mourn, and remember. But at least we can remember too, and that's why I wanted to take the extra time to not only have obviously Mike, which was kind of with him, and reach out to Doomcock to come talk as well. And I was so happy that he did that. He didn't have to do that. Doomcock and Mike are both very busy men, and they have busy things going on in their life. They have a lot to do, and yet it was nice of them to come do that for Mark. And I'm very grateful to both of them, and very grateful for all of you who hung out and were in the chat and supporting us, and paying tribute as well to our dear departed friend. And let's see, tomorrow night I won't be on Midnight's Edge after dark. I'll be somewhere on Tom's Edge. I won't be on there, but I'll be on the round table with Loki and the gang Wednesday night. And back here for Wild Card Wednesday night. And at Tom's hopefully on Thursday night, and then Thursday night with Raquel and Mark here and on the clubhouse, and 8 p.m. 8:30 p.m. Central for Nick and the gang on Friday night with the Comic Shop gang, and then back here for Saturday night Star Trek. But 4 more episodes reviewed, and then let Mark tell us about hopefully the geekery and other stuff going on.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you for hosting this tribute tonight to your great buddy. It was heartfelt, and I'm sure he's looking down and smiling, and hopefully in a much better place. But yeah, we've got Toxic Tuesday tomorrow night on Nick's channel, John Wick 3, and that's at 10 p.m. Eastern. And tomorrow morning I'm going to be on with that 70s rock fan on his morning show that he's doing on Jiri's channel on Pop Culture Minefield. So just look for the Twitters. So he's talking, I think it's 10 a.m. Eastern, talking John Wick. So I've got a lot of practice on John Wick. So I'm going to hop on there and hang out with him on that morning show. And of course, the clubhouse. And we shall be here for Sunday night geekery. So we had a fun time this last Sunday. So if you missed that, maybe watch a few minutes of us and skip the beginning if you do not want to get hungry or talk about ice cream.
Well, thank you all so much. I'm going to, of course, shout out the great wrenches. We'll shout out everybody more proper, in the clubhouse. But the great Eric K, thank you so much for all you do, buddy. The bronze wrencher and the doggy there. And I think he had to run, but the great Chris Persia, Vindicator Wrench of the North. D. Bud Martin, thank you so much, buddy. The great Wrench of Iron. Lord Thoth, LT, and Lady Thoth, of course, out there. Avon lives long, live the Legion. And their new pupper as well. The Wrench Without Fear, my partner in crime on Earth B, had a great time on Earth B earlier tonight. Talking some Bob Haney. A lot of fun doing that review. We'll do it again soon. Hungry Boy, master of the Clobberin and artist of Clobberin Times, and cover painter supreme of the cover of Science Fiction Tales by the great R.M. Briggs. Super Wrench Kal-El, thank you for all those kind words you said there, buddy. I appreciate them very much, and thank you for being here. Maddie's daddy, the great Wrench of Vegas, the wielder of French Mjolnir and Fanty Outsidey. Wrenchy, buddy. Thank you for being here. And thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. I cannot thank you enough. Sean Carter, good to see you, buddy. Monkey Jeebus, the great Pat S. Let's see here. Who was here? The lovely Sherry was here. Cam's Crush. Darth CPU. Who else was here? May as well just, why not? In tribute to Mark C, we'll pay tribute to everybody who was here with us tonight. It's a task, but we can do it. If we can find him.
Yep.
Largo's Lair. Rami Salami. Hang on, everybody. Let's see here. Morb 357. Hello there. Claude Perishable. Telling lies about me. Ghost Writer. Show up. John Shaggy Rupas. J.D. Lewis. Yes, thank you so much for being here. Stuart Mitchell was here. Wow. See there, buddy. I missed some people when I was getting distracted.
I had braces.
Other stuff. He did indeed. She did. Rod Thunderheart. Good to see you there, buddy. Hang on, everybody. So, you think I got everybody? Oh, Skogly drew 2. Now, do you think I got everybody?
Probably not, but
You're right. Alex James. There's Mexican Iron Man, but I already talked to him. That doesn't count. He was already in here.
right, yeah.
The great Loki was here. The great student
Loki,
Loki,
yep.
buddy. Okay, so now for sure I got everybody, right? There's no way it's anybody I missed now. This is not going to be anybody there whatsoever that I haven't already said my hellos to. I refuse to
Inconceivable.
believe it's inconceivable. Well, see, I told you. I'm dead. It's amazing. There's nobody else. It takes the chat forever to pull back. Now do you doubt me now? Oh my God, the wonderful Six was here. Love you, Six. See, I told you it was somebody else.
There you go.
Nobody listens to me. Love you, Six. Thank you so much. Now there's nobody though. I've got everybody. You can't convince me of otherwise now. It's not even a chance in hell that I missed anybody. I won't believe it. You can't convince me. Claude Salling. See, I told you. There was another one. Dave. See, if I'd listened to you, never mind. Almost there. Keely Chow. Roll Tide. See, what can I tell you? Never count your chickens. But now I'm going to count them. There's no way there's anybody else. There's only a few left. I'm right this time. I'm on part this time. Guagnar. See, I told you I was wrong. Skogly Jatoon. Brian Hepburn. And that'd be everybody. So what do you think of that? Pretty good. So thank you all, everyone. Appreciate you so much. Have a fantastic week. Let's get this one. Let's make this week. Let's make quick work of this week. Let's get it over with quick. How about that? Can we do that? Let's try that. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic week. Clobber on, clobberers.
Clobber on 'em